Good morning, everybody. Put your locations in the comments and we'll get started in a minute. Locations in the comments. Give me your locations in the comments as y'all coming in. Hope everyone's having a great Wednesday. We are 3 weeks away from 2026, everybody. If you have not yet, for those of you who don't know what my main work is, if you have not yet written down your goals for the year 2026 for next year, start writing them down. Start writing down your goals for next year. As y'all coming in, put your locations in the comments. KingWorks21, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Congrats. First comment of the day on any platform. Girly Samurai ESQ. Good morning to you. Congrats on the second comment. As y'all coming in, shout yourselves out in the comments section. Make sure we are active where we need to be active. We are live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble, live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Let's check and see if we're live on X. According to what I see here, let's see. Yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. We are live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. My name on LinkedIn and X and Rumble and YouTube is at Dre All Day. LinkedIn, X, Rumble, YouTube is at Dre All Day. We are live on Facebook / Work on Your Game University, Instagram at Dre Baldwin, and the largest audience when I do these live streams, for whatever reason, even though it's the exact same material going to all the platforms, is TikTok. TikTok at Work on Your Game. So whatever app you are on, make sure you follow me on at least one other app, just in case there's any shenanigans or issues or shutdowns or blockages or suspensions. Y'all know how these things go on any one of these apps. So I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Rumble, X, and YouTube all at the same time. Early Samurai said the Midwest. Shout out to the Midwest. That's a big place. Shout out to everybody checking in from the Midwest. Give me your locations in the comments, folks, and we're going to get started. The topic here today, we're going to talk about this coordinated plot. This is clearly coordinated against Candace Owens. This is coordinated. And I'm going to explain why it's coordinated. We're going to talk specifically about some things that I've heard and what's being said and what this really means in the big picture of what's being discussed when it comes to the death of Charlie Kirk, which we are officially, as of today, exactly 3 months away from when it happened. It was September the 10th. Now it's December the 10th. We're going to talk about that here today. So as y'all are coming in, again, give me your locations as y'all are checking in. Let's shout a few people out. Marky Man 007, first comment on TikTok. Good morning from Sacramento. Thank you for the gift. Abby, thank you for the gifts. Tina, good morning from the 757 VA here again today. Glad you're here again. Let's make that every day. Nikki, thank you for the gifts. Tina, thanks for the repost. Nikki from Connecticut, good morning. Linda Gale, good morning from St. Louis. Ray from Absecon, New Jersey. Shout out to Jersey. Tina, thank you for the lightning bolts. Farmer Joe said, no one hates Charlie more than Candace. Okay, that opinion is now on the record of yours. Quail Ridge from Lincoln, California. Good morning. Erica B checking in from Frosty, Baltimore. Shout out to everywhere there's Frosty. Erica B, thanks for the heart. Scott Young, good morning. Brandy B checking in from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Shout out to North Carolina.
Daddy has new ones.
You got new ones? Okay. Easy with the door. Easy with the door. Kelly A checking in from Georgia. Annie AFF from Kentucky. Satine 2025 from Louisiana. Good morning. Erica B, go popular. Thank you. Joe I said, do you have court today? No, hopefully not, because I'm not a lawyer, so I don't ever want to have court. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, and I don't work in the legal system. So if I have court, that's not a good thing, usually, unless I'm suing somebody else. If I'm suing somebody else, that's a good thing, because then I'm going to get paid. Other than that, no. XTR, good morning. Amy Lynn, good morning. 140.6 Walnut Creek, California. Leah checking in from Tifton, Georgia. Good morning. LDG, thank you for the share. Andrew Levitt, Tupin, and Leah, thank you for the gifts. Lori B. Patriot, Gen X69, good morning. Checking in from Missouri. What'd you say?
And they do this. They have this little red thing.
This little red thing? Mm-hmm. What does that do?
It's a light.
It's a what?
It's a light.
It's a light?
You talk like this. Hello?
Yeah, give me one.
Hello? Hello?
I think that's just the on-off switch. So I think you talk into... I don't know where you're talking to. Oh, no, you're talking to this part up here.
Hello? Yeah.
It's on.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, we got to figure... Well, I think it works. You just got to figure out how it works. I don't think we know how to use it.
I just heard it. It just worked.
I don't hear anything.
Oh, I heard it.
You heard it? I don't hear anything. Is it working?
Mm-hmm.
Sound check 1 2 1 2.
Oh.
No, we got to figure out how it works. I think you need to get the instructions. Can you go get the instructions?
Wait, did it come? Oh.
They should have instructions. There should be instructions or get the box. Ask mommy for it. She'll give it to you.
Oh, I'll go get it.
Okay. Lori B. Patriot, good morning from Missouri. Ron Johnson from Lima, Ohio. XCR from Winters, California. Leah, thanks for the gifts. LDG from Minnesota. No, we need the instructions. Go get the instructions. We need instructions, not just this.
Oh, yes, you do.
We need these, but go get the instructions. Scott Young from North Myrtle Beach. Shout out to Myrtle Beach. Erica B said, let's get the likes up. Yes, 10,000 already. Dana Marie checking in from Southwestern Michigan. Mia, thank you for the lightning bolt. 200 of them. 11 Bravo from South Carolina. Andrea checking in from Massachusetts. Leah, thanks for the repost. Michelle, New Jersey. Look for the box. Go get the box. Michelle from New Jersey. Leah said, everyone tap. Grace Bristol, good morning from F-Land, North Carolina. Never heard of that place, but shout out to F-Land. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit is in the house. Carol Ann Collins, Newburgh, New York. XTR said, good morning to the young man. Yes, well, he will correct you and say that he is a boy or a kid. That's what he calls himself now. You can't call him a baby. Definitely can't call him that. Scooter said, what's the topic today? Is the coordinated Candace Owens slander we're going to talk about here today. Laughing Puppy 60 from Seattle. Sherry 1967, Snowy, Michigan. Shout out to the snow. Miss Banks, good morning, checking in from Wisconsin. So there's something specific that happened a day or two ago. There's a guy named Tim Pool. Y'all know Tim Pool? Tim is a pretty well-known podcaster, I guess we can call him. Podcaster / influencer. We need the instructions. You didn't get the instructions. I don't need those. We don't need these. We need the instructions. Yes, we need that. Close the door. Gently. Thank you. Okay, give that to me. Let's figure out what's going on. Give it to me.
It's supposed to be started.
No, I don't need that. I don't need the box.
No.
Okay.
This part right here.
All right. So the microphone is this part right here, the nose. That's the microphone. Okay. The talk button is this right here. And the on-off switch we got. So it says it works up to 500 feet under ideal conditions. I think these conditions are ideal.
But it's right here.
Yes, so that's the talk button. You talk into the nose. 1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2.
Yeah, I don't hear anything. You hear anything?
No.
Yeah, I don't hear anything. So we still got to figure out how this works. It says static free, extended range, easy push to talk button. And is both of ours on? Mine is on. Let me make sure yours is on. Yours is on. Okay, so this should be working. Let's see. Talk. I don't hear anything. You hear anything?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's not working. We got to figure out what's missing here. Something's missing. We'll figure this out in a second.
Maybe this is what's missing.
That's just a strap to hold it. That doesn't do anything as far as the sound. Yeah, it has batteries. It's on. It's turned on with batteries installed. It has a red light that shows you that it's on. See that red light? See that red light right there is on. Both of them are on. And let's see. Maybe we're not pushing the talk button. Let me see yours.
I just talked.
You just talked?
Yeah, I talked.
Sound check 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Hello?
Okay, so this one is sound check test 1 2 1 2. You can hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now it's talking. Okay.
So let's talk by itself.
No, it's not talking about itself. It's talking because I said something. Listen, look. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now you push the button and you talk. Push that button. This button. You got to hold it and talk. You got to hold it while you're talking. So look, you say something.
1 2 1 2.
They're close to each other.
1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2.
This one.
4.
Right, this one is not translating to that. It's not sending the message to that one. Sound check 1 2. Maybe you're just not pushing a button. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
4.
Okay, it
4.
works. So you got to hold the button and talk at the same time.
4.
You got to push it stronger. Now, this toy is made for 3-year-olds, but you got to push this button hard as hell to make it actually register the sound. So hold it like this and push it with 2 fingers.
Okay.
Hold it the other way. You got it backwards, like this. This way. And push the button now. Push it. Now talk. Talk.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Again.
1, 2, 1, 2.
You see?
1, 2.
Now, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2.
Okay. So this is what we got to do because they're right next to each other. So that's why it's not working that well. You have to go in the other room and I'll be in here and then you say something. You take that one out there and then you try it.
Okay.
Okay. Because we're getting a lot of feedback. Okay. Sound check. Sound check. 1, 2. Sound check. 1, 2, 1, 2. See if we can get these working. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, we'll get to that in a second. Let's see if he comes back in here. So, back to what I was talking about. So, this guy, Tim Pool, he is a conservative podcaster. I guess he's labeled a conservative. He's the host of a show called Timcast IRL. And Tim Pool is the guy, not to be confused with Tim Cook, who's the CEO of Apple. Tim Pool is this podcaster. He wears this black beanie on his head all the time, white guy. And he has a very popular show. He's been around for a long time. I remember hearing him on the Rogan podcast years ago when they had Jack Dorsey and this woman, Vijaya. They were the people running what at the time was Twitter. And they were being held to account by Joe Rogan and Tim Pool as a special guest host as to what exactly are y'all doing when it comes to silencing certain voices on certain subjects, specifically when it came to the virus that was going on at the time and other things that were happening. And Jack Dorsey and Vijaya were there. Vijaya was like the head of content, whatever her title was. And Tim Cook was doing a great job of holding them accountable for their bullshit because they were both on there lying. And shortly after, Twitter ends up getting sold to Elon Musk and Twitter then became X. So Tim Cook did a very good job then. That's what the thing I remember him the most for. But anyway, the reason why I'm talking about him is because he went on an extended rant against Candace Owens a couple days ago during one of his live episodes. The show was called...
Say something.
Okay, let's see. Don't slam the door. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you hear me? He went on this extended rant against Candace Owens a couple days ago. Where... Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? You hear me? Okay, I was just hold this down the whole time while I'm talking to y'all. He went on this extended rant against Candace Owens that was one of thousands, maybe 500 people every day on social media are bashing Candace Owens. That's why I said this is a coordinated slander against her. And what we want to talk about here is why is this coordinated slander happening? If she is actually as bad as people say she is, then it wouldn't need to happen the way that it's happening. That's the part that is perplexing to me. That's the part. Can you hear it? That's the part that is not quite making sense to me. And that's the part that we're going to get into here today. Now, let me just introduce myself before I get into this, because all of this is going to be part of what I need to say. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm former 9-year pro athlete. Yes. 1, 2. Can you hear it? Okay. Now, you can't keep opening the door asking me to say something, though. You can't do that. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. Former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books, done a few TED Talks, and run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our job over here is to help you take the mindsets, the strategies, the systems, and the applications that help athletes get to the top 2% of the sports world and apply those in your business and in your everyday life. Our main focus these days, I'm talking right now. You hear it? Okay, keep the door closed. Our main focus right now is on what we call the power presence. You can see that book right there above me. You get that when you're a member of my mastermind, where you have me as your direct coach, where we help you master communication. Power presence is all about communication. Your body language, your tone of voice, your eye contact, what you say, what you absorb, what you take in from other people. And all of that comes down into one signal that people note as presence. And that does 85% of the work for you before you start speaking. You want to be better at your leadership. You want to make more impact. You want to make more sales. You want to raise your prices, get promoted. Not because you increased your skill, but because your presence is more strongly felt this is designed for you. Those of you who are leaders, those of you who are ambitious, you want to make sure your communication is producing the ROI you believe it deserves. Get into the Power Presence Mastermind with me as your direct coach. That link is in my bio or in the pinned comment, whichever app you happen to be looking at this on. Getting into this, let's talk a little bit about exactly what Tim said, because he said a lot of things. There's a lot of things that he kind of went off on. And this is all based on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which happened as of now 90 days ago. His comments, Tim Cook started to get personal. He started to personally attack Candace Owens. That he didn't start to. He started with personally attacking Candace Owens. She is sick. She is terrible. He used the C word on her, like the curse word that you would use against a woman. He said all this on his show. And she came out and said a couple things tweet-wise. She said something on her show yesterday, which I heard this morning. And what she said about it, I pretty much agree. But let's get into where it was. So ever since Charlie Kirk passed away, Candace Owens has been basically challenging the accepted narrative about what exactly happened, why it happened, how it happened. She's been pointing out things. She's been talking about things from Egyptian planes to France to the Macrons to the government being involved to the military being involved and America being involved. TPUSA knowing about it and not stopping it. Charlie Kirk knowing that somebody was going to try to take his life. Candace Owens is throwing a lot of things out there that a lot of people are getting mad at her about. And I don't think people are mad at her because of what she's throwing out there. I don't think people are mad at her because they think that she's wrong. I don't think people are mad at her because they don't like the fact that she is drawing the most attention to the Charlie Kirk situation, whether you think it's positively or negatively. It's clear and obvious she's drawing more attention than anybody. I don't think people are mad at her for any of those reasons. I think the main reason people have an issue with Candace Owens, that they are covering it up by saying, well, we think she's lying, she's a bad person, she's grifting, she's using Charlie Kirk, she's benefiting from Charlie Kirk's death. That's what everybody is saying. That's the good reason. I think the real reason people have an issue with Candace Owens is because either they already didn't like her, so now this just gives them more ammunition, or that's option A. Option B is that Candace Owens is questioning the mainstream narrative. And we saw back with that virus that happened a few years ago, that when somebody comes out and starts questioning the mainstream narrative, not only do the people who created that narrative have a problem with them, they go and plant seeds in the minds of everybody else who has also accepted the narrative. That anybody who doesn't go along with the narrative must be a bad person, need to be silenced, attacked, and smeared. That's option B as to why she's being attacked. Option C is because a lot of people like Turning Point USA. They are very powerful in the conservative movement. And a lot of the backlash and slander Candace has been getting has been coming from conservatives. And Candace is a conservative. She's not MAGA. She's not Trump anymore. And clearly not cool with TPUSA. But she is a conservative. A lot of conservatives are bashing her because they say Candace Owens is causing consternation amongst conservatives. And there's not one accepted voice amongst the conservatives because Candace has gone and basically stirred up the pot and got everybody all questioning what's going on, even within the conservative movement, for lack of a better term. And they're saying, well, look at the people on the left, the liberals, even though someone said, TikTok says that my live visibility is restricted because I redirect users to purchase products outside of TikTok. No, I didn't. I didn't do that. So TikTok, y'all give me a warning early on. I didn't even do that. So TikTok, y'all got to do something about that. They said I got restricted for that. But anyway, continuing. People are saying that Candace Owens is causing consternation amongst conservatives compared to the liberals, who are always on the same page, even when they're saying something ridiculous. So she's getting attacked for that. And then there's the good reason that goes on top of all of that. The real reasons that people have is that they're saying, well, she's lying. She's grifting out Charlie Kirk's name. She didn't love Charlie Kirk as much as she says she did. She's just trying to destroy Charlie Kirk, or she's mad at Erica because Charlie Kirk married Erica Kirk and didn't marry her. These are all the reasons that sound good, but those are not the real reasons. The real reasons is because Candace Owens is drawing attention to a story that a lot of people have accepted as true. And she is, yes, it's because I'm talking into it. She has poked some holes in that story. And anytime you disturb other people's comfort, whether it is physical, mental, or emotional, they are going to come back at you 10 times harder. This is what's happening with Candace Owens right now. Tim Pool's rant against Candace Owens is just one piece of evidence that further goes along with this. So Candace Owens has been saying many times she's gotten all these tips and anonymous tips from her readers and her listeners, not readers, but listeners, her audience members, of which she has many. And Tim Pool has been criticizing Candace Owens for maybe a week or two now. He called her a liar. He said that she is betraying Charlie Kirk, she's betraying TPUSA, and she's betraying the conservative movement. So another one of the good reasons, not the real reason, but the good reasons that some conservatives are bashing Candace Owens is because,
No, I can't.
okay, you either got to come in or you got to come out. You can't keep coming back in and out. Okay, you either got to stay in here or you got to stay out there. Okay? Okay. Tim Pool said, amongst other things, and we're going to get into the other things, he said that Candace Owens and her current pushback against TPUSA and the federal government and the official story about Charlie Kirk is going to disrupt the midterm elections for the Republicans. That is a ridiculous frame for Tim Pool to use. Now, why is this frame ridiculous? It's not that Tim Pool is necessarily wrong. He is wrong, but it's not that he's necessarily wrong. It's that if Candace Owens, if you believe that Candace Owens believes, and I believe that she does believe, she is really trying to do a service to her friend, her late friend Charlie Kirk, by trying to find out what actually happened to him. If you believe that she believes that, then how the hell could you say to her, you're going to mess up the midterms in 2026 by doing the investigation that you're doing? Because that doesn't actually add up, doesn't make any sense. Why would I care about midterm elections for a political party, even if she was hardcore MAGA, hardcore Trump, hardcore everything? Even if she was, if one of your best friends gets shot in broad daylight in front of the world and you start investigating that and that disturbs the election, which one is the higher priority if you really care about your friend? Tim Cook even saying this shows you where I believe, where his priorities lie. That he's saying, oh, well, she's going to destroy the midterms for Republicans in 2026. And if we don't win the midterms, then you can blame it on Candace Owens. Tim, like, really? That's what you came up with? That she's going to destroy? You ask Mommy, because that one is not in that good of a shape. She's going to destroy the midterms for everybody. That's not a good frame for Tim Pool to be using. But let's go point by point by the things that he said. So the first thing he said, and I'm going to quote Tim Pool. Here's what he said. It's about a 10 to 15 minute rant, and I can't play it. Candace Owens is a evil scumbag. He used the F word there. I want to try not to use too much profanity because TikTok will restrict me. Candace Owens is an evil scumbag. She is a degenerate C word. She is burning everything that... Son, you're slamming that door too often. Gentle with the door. All right, I'm going to have to lock the door in a second. She is a degenerate C word. She is burning everything down that Charlie Kirk built. This is another common slander point against Candace Owens' business. She's taking everything Charlie Kirk built and attacking it. I already talked about this a few days ago. Earlier this week or last week, I talked about this. In that people are trying to use the transitive property when it comes to Charlie Kirk. They're saying that Charlie Kirk was a good guy and people like Charlie Kirk. Therefore, if you support Candace Owens or you are Candace Owens and you are questioning Turning Point USA, which was built by Charlie Kirk, that means you are disrespecting Charlie Kirk. I've already knocked this down. This is a false frame. That is a straw man argument. That just because a person you like built something, if you start challenging the thing that they built, especially when they're no longer around, that doesn't mean that you are attacking them. Again, there's no transitive property. Turning Point USA does not get the transitive name, image, and likeness of Charlie Kirk. Yes, it was built by Charlie Kirk. Yes, it's Charlie Kirk's organization. Yes, he chose all the people who work there. But if you believe that the people at Turning Point USA are doing a disservice to the legacy of that person who you did like, then you have every right to challenge it. And that way you are actually serving him rather than attacking him. So people are trying to use this frame that anytime you challenge Turning Point USA, you're challenging Charlie Kirk. I say if they're doing things on the up and up and they're telling the truth and everything they're saying is self-evident, because that's what truth is, it is self-evident, they have nothing to hide. They don't need to use Charlie Kirk's name as a shield or a crutch for any criticism that is coming in their direction. That's the problem I have with Turning Point USA. I talked about this in a live that when I talked about this invitation to do the live stream with them. I think that was on Monday. The problem I have with Turning Point USA and what they've been saying, their line of communication over the last, let's just say the last 10 days, because they have really been, let's just say the last 90 days, because they have been talking around the Charlie Kirk situation and avoiding the points that Candace Owens has been bringing up for about 3 months. Then they finally said something about it, and they said, we're going to do a live stream and address all the misinformation or lies or inaccuracies that Candace has been putting out. And they invited Candace, and they said, you got to do it in person. Candace said, let me do it on live. They said, you can't do it on the stream. You got to actually come in person. Why? Is because they don't really want to have a conversation with Candace. I already explained this to you all in a live that I did on this exact subject. And they finally brought it up and started talking about it. The problem I have with them is that they keep using Charlie Kirk's name as a crutch. That makes me curious. It makes me curious because they keep using his name as a crutch and a shield against themselves, for themselves, rather. So anybody criticizes Turning Point USA, Candace Owens attacks Turning Point USA, or throws some shade or some shadows or some doubt on Turning Point USA, the first thing they do is, and people who support them, is I believe somebody is putting money into the pockets of these influencers who are all bashing Candace Owens at the same time on the same days with the same stuff, with the same material. That it's because they have something that they don't want to talk about. There's something that they want to hide, something that they don't want to address. Because if they had nothing to hide or nothing that they didn't want to address, they would just address it and just talk about it openly. Because again, truth is self-evident, ladies and gentlemen. When you're telling the truth, there's nothing to hide. There's no dissimulation. You don't need to try to hold the cards and how a conversation happens. If you're telling the truth, then yeah, you can get on a live stream, literally a Zoom link or a Restream link or a what other platforms these people use. They probably got their own platform. Why can't Candace Owens come on a live stream and answer or ask questions that you all can answer if you're telling the truth? Why you need a group of people if you're telling the truth? Maybe the group of people, maybe they just want to answer for things that she said to or towards or about them. Let's just give them that point. Let's concede that point to Turning Point USA. If you're telling the truth, it's self-evident. You don't need to set the rules for how you're going to tell the truth if you're telling the truth. This is why I'm questioning Turning Point USA. This is why I'm looking at them funny. And this is why a lot of people are looking at them funny and are listening to Candace, who is looking at them funny. And the people who are telling you don't listen to Candace Owens, again, if what she's saying is wrong, ladies and gentlemen, understand something. If what Candace Owens is saying is wrong, and she is bad, and she's evil, and she's demonic, and I've heard people say all these things about Candace Owens, even the things that Tim Pool is saying. I keep saying Tim Pool. Even if the things that he's saying, they're all true, okay? And she's wrong, bad, inaccurate, conspiracy theorist, throwing out lies, etc., etc. They'll get exposed. All her lies will get exposed. You don't have to say anything. If someone is actually telling a lie, all you got to do is sit there and let them keep talking. All they're going to do is bury themselves the more they talk. That's how it works. In 2012, some of you may remember this. Was it 2000? Yeah, 2012. Sitting President Barack Obama was doing a debate against the Republican nominee, a guy by the name of Mitt Romney. And they were having a live debate on TV. Some of you may remember this moment. And what happened is, I don't remember the exact point of dissension, but Mitt Romney said he asserted that Barack Obama had done a certain thing that Barack Obama had not done. And Mitt Romney was saying it in clear black and white language, you absolutely did this thing. And Barack Obama didn't say anything because he knew that Mitt Romney was wrong. And Mitt Romney said, you did that thing, didn't you? Didn't you, President? Didn't you do that thing, Mr. President? And Barack Obama said, he just sat there. He was sitting down in the chair and he looked at Mitt Romney with a smile. He said, continue, Governor. Because at the time, Mitt Romney was governor. Y'all remember this? Anybody remember this moment? Barack Obama said, continue, Governor. And he let Mitt Romney keep talking. And then Romney talked. And he finished his statement. And at the end of Mitt Romney's statement, the moderator who was there, he called on Barack Obama to speak. And before Barack Obama began to speak, he said, excuse me, Mr. Moderator, can you please check the record on this thing that the governor just accused me of? And the governor corrected the record and said, no, actually, Mitt Romney, Governor Romney, you're 100% wrong. He didn't say it in these so many words. He said, you're wrong. No, Barack Obama did not do that thing. That's what you do when somebody's lying. When somebody's lying and you know they're lying, all you do is let them keep talking because all they're going to do is bury themselves with the more that they say. The more they say, the more obvious it's going to be that they told a lie, and they're going to expose themselves. They're going to destroy all their credibility. The whole world is going to see it, and you can keep your hands clean the entire time. Now, if somebody's telling a lie, and they're saying something that's wrong, and it's slanderous, and it's bad, and it's misinformation, disinformation, whatever words you want to use, and you start attacking them personally because you claim that they're telling a lie, it starts to make you look suspicious. That's the problem. You start to look suspicious when you start attacking somebody on a personal level when some people are saying that what Candace is doing is a personal attack on other people. Well, if it's a personal attack on you, then just clear your name and say, okay, this part she said is wrong because, and then say what she got wrong. That's all you got to do. Turning Point USA, Tim Pool, whoever. All you got to do is say she's wrong because she said this and this, That's wrong because this. That's wrong because this. That's wrong because that. Has Turning Point USA done that? It's been 90 days. Have they done that? Give me a yes or a no. Any of you paying attention to this? Has Tim Pool done it? Has any of the hundreds of influencers who are clearly in a coordinated plan to smear Candace Owens' name that's not working, but they're trying, has any of them done this? All you're getting from any of these people is a whole bunch of conjecture, a whole bunch of straw manning her points to basically take anything that she says. They go and make fun of it, try to make it sound ridiculous and silly. Then they say, well, Candace Owens is dumb because this, and then they just do a list. They call it the Gish Gallop. They just do a whole list of negative things about her, straw manning her points and saying, well, she's wrong because none of these points are making sense. She's provided no evidence. She's provided no proof. But nobody's actually saying that she's wrong about anything specifically because nobody can point out what specifically she's wrong about. They're just saying what she's saying. This is just not right, because a lot of what Candace is doing is not making assertions. She's offering theories, questions, and some opinions. She's not actually asserting many things. If you listen to what she's saying in her show, I've listened to every episode she's talked about since Charlie Kirk. The last 90 days, I've listened to every episode. She's not made many assertions. She's offered many theories. She's asked a whole bunch of questions, and she's thrown a whole bunch of things on the wall, which is what investigation is. She just happens to be playing it out in public. Now, what people are saying is that she's bad, she's terrible, she's going back to what Tim Pool said. She's an effing evil scumbag. I don't have a problem with profanity, folks. I just got to be careful with TikTok. They sometimes get sensitive to use too much of it. Effing evil scumbag. And this, Tim said the actual words. Okay, so you can go find this clip on social media. She is a degenerate C word. That's what he called Candace Owens. She is burning everything down that Charlie built, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. It's effing evil. There's another word, evil. When I hear people using this term, talking about Candace Owens, we already know what this is. Those of you who've been following or listening to these lives often enough, you know exactly what logical fallacy this is. Emotional, damn it. This is the appeal to emotion logical fallacy. The appeal to emotion logical fallacy. Emotional, damn it. Is what people use when they are trying to throw lighter fluid on their arguments as a way of convincing you further through the energy of emotion, because clearly their logic is not strong enough. See, when your logic is strong enough, you don't need any emotion. You don't need to throw emotion on top of what you're saying to get people to believe in what you're saying. The issue with the Candace Owens situation, and I see all the coordinated attacks against her, is that people are using a whole bunch of emotional talking points to bash her, rather than just saying, hey, she's logically wrong because of A, B, C. Because if she's logically wrong, then you can just point out what she's wrong about. She's throwing so much stuff on the wall. All you got to do is point out what she got wrong. That's all you got to do. The issue is the way that she has laid this out is that the things that she's pointed out, the only people who can prove that they're actually wrong are the entities that she has fingered, none of which is the everyday person, none of which is any influencer. Is Turning Point USA, who has refused to talk, and then they're going to have a live stream Monday or Tuesday, whatever day that is, when they're doing this live stream. And Candace Owens is not going to be there, so they're basically going to get to say their side of the story, which we know is going to be some bullshit, and we know just by the way they framed it up to this point. Then is the governments. She mentioned Egypt, she mentioned France, she mentioned United States governments. And none of us is any of those entities, so how are we going to say that she's wrong about anything? Because they would have to clear their own names. None of them is saying anything. This is one of the reasons why this keeps getting steam, and what Candace Owens is doing continues to draw attention, simply because the people who she has pointed out and made assertions about, they aren't saying anything back to her. These are the ones who she says she thinks they might be on a coordinated plot to shut her up in a way that goes way beyond social media. So everybody else saying that she's wrong makes me curious. I'm like, first of all, why are all y'all saying it at the same time? Why are you all saying it on the same day? Why are you all saying the same things? That's not organic. That's the issue that I have with this. I know it's not organic. I know a coordinated campaign when I see one. And this is what's happening on social now. Who's paying them? I don't know. Now, I've responded to these people. I responded to a few of them at different times. Some people I know, some who I don't. But when I see the talking points and I see the follower numbers and I see what they're saying, I'm like, why are all y'all saying this? I'm saying you're paid to do this. This is a paid campaign. Now, I don't know who's doing the paying. I don't know how much they're getting paid, but I know that these people did not all just decide on the same day. Let me say something about Candace Owens. Now, some people may be talking about her because everybody else is talking about her. I'm talking about her right now because everybody's talking about her. But the things that I'm saying, this is not a coordinated campaign. Nobody fed me these points. I'm just telling you what I think. And nobody pays me to post anything on social media. So continue what Tim Pool said. He argues that Candace Owens' conspiracy theories, a lot of people call it that, she did say that TPUSA betrayed Charlie Kirk. She did say that. Now, that betrayal, it depends on what she means by that. And she has gone into detail with that, but it can mean several different things. She didn't say TPUSA did it. She said that some people who worked there had some knowledge of what was about to happen to Charlie, and they allowed it to happen for whatever reason, which we don't know yet. But she's throwing out some theories as to why they wanted to do this, because this person might have been in this position, this person's working with this person. Turning Point USA is a very big organization. For those of you who don't know, they took in millions of dollars in donations every single year, like 9 figures. Every year they take in a whole lot of donations, they do a whole lot of events, and they are helping shape the outcomes of political elections in the United States of America. That's a huge organization. They are a big organization. And when you're that big and you have that much money flying around, you get other interests involved besides just we want Donald Trump to be president. It goes a lot bigger than that. That's what happened with Turning Point USA. That happened whether Charlie Kirk was alive or not, by the way. If Charlie Kirk was still alive and hadn't gotten shot on September 10th, that would still be true about Turning Point USA. This is what happens when you get a whole lot of money involved, especially when you're dealing in politics, where there's a lot of money involved as well. So what Candace Owens has said is that Turning Point USA betrayed Charlie Kirk. That Charlie Kirk was looking in one direction. Turning Point USA, the rest of the people who worked there were looking in another direction, and they took him out in the process of them wanting to do what they wanted to do with the organization, and now here we are. Now, again, do we know if this is true? Not yet. Do we know if it's not true? Not yet. Will we ever find out? I don't think so. I think the people who run Turning Point USA are smart enough not to expose themselves too much, which is why they haven't said anything in the last 90 days, which is why they didn't really want to have Candace talk to them. Even if she had shown up, they would have controlled the conversation in such a way she couldn't really ask what she really wanted to ask and force them to answer it, because they don't want to have to answer anything. And if they don't answer anything, we will never know the truth, unless they end up getting charged with something, which I doubt, because I don't think they pulled the trigger. So what are you going to charge them with? Especially if, as Candace has theorized, governments are involved. Well, who's going to charge the government? The government? They're going to charge themselves? And this is the reason why some people say it's a conspiracy theory, because she's designed it in such a way that no matter how it goes, she could always say, well, we never knew the truth. Well, hey, there are a lot of things about life, a lot of things that have happened in life, especially with regards to the United States government, upon which we've never known the truth. Now, what was the truth about what happened to JFK? We don't know. What was the truth about the virus 5 years ago? We don't really know. There are arguments. There are points that people can make, but do we actually know for sure? No. Is the government ever going to come out and admit it? Of course not. So you can only go off of your own personal discernment. And if your discernment is sharp enough that you believe somebody else has it wrong and you can prove that they have it wrong, then just explain why they're wrong. That's what happens in the marketplace of ideas. And there's another issue I have with a coordinated slander against Candace Owens. In the marketplace of ideas, this is how it works. You put your ideas out there. When I say ideas, I mean that the spirit of the point ideas, your positions, your assertions, your theories, your content, whatever it is you want to say. You put your ideas out there in the marketplace, and the marketplace tells you how they feel about your ideas. The right people, it doesn't have to be all the people, the right people will raise their hand and say, I'm interested in that, and they will step closer to you and into your world. The people for whom it is not, they go the opposite direction, and they don't pay any attention to you. Candace Owens has been getting more and more and more attention over the last 90 days because clearly the marketplace of ideas has communicated that whatever it is that she's doing, however you want to label it, they like it and they want more of it. So this can only mean a few different things. It can mean, one, all the world is into conspiracy theories, and a juicy conspiracy theory will just draw a bunch of attention, and you can just stretch it out and drag it on for as long as you want, and people will keep paying attention to it. That's one theory, because a lot of people say Candace Owens is a conspiracy theorist, right? She's just saying a whole bunch of nonsense to draw attention. If that's the case, then explain how she's getting millions of people watching every episode that she puts out. Does that mean millions of people are just into conspiracy theories and they just love conspiracy theories? They don't love the truth. They love conspiracy theories. Okay, it's possible. Not probable, but possible. Let's just put that on the table. Now, all the other people who are bashing her said that she's wrong, she's telling lies, and she's making stuff up, and she's just grifting off Charlie Kirk's name. Okay, then you come out and tell the truth. What's the truth? Is there anyone on social media that I don't know about who has come out and told us the actual truth about what happened to Charlie Kirk on September 10th? Is there a person? Can somebody give me a name? Who's that person? they should have just as many people watching their episodes as Candace has watching her episodes. So you got Candace with the conspiracy theory nonsense, allegedly. And then you got the person over there or the group over there telling the truth. They should be competing against each other if there is somebody out there telling the truth. Question, who's the person out there telling the truth? Give me a name. Give me the name of the person. Who is the person who is every day or any days coming out telling us the truth about what happened to Charlie Kirk? Can anybody give me the name? That's not Candace Owens. Is there anybody? I haven't heard anybody coming. I haven't heard of anybody coming out there doing it. All I hear all the influencers doing, the ones who say that Candace Owens is attacking Charlie Kirk's name and everything he built and slandering his name and destroying tearing down what he built and grifting off his name. And she's jealous because he married Erica instead of marrying her and all these things that they're saying. All they're doing is attacking her, but none of them is actually addressing her points. They're attacking the person without addressing the point. And this is the ad hominem. The ad hominem is when you address the person rather than addressing the point.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
That's what ad hominem means. It translates directly to the person. That's what ad hominem means. You attack the person instead of attacking the point. And people attack Candace Owens' points only by using the straw man, by taking something that she said, making it sound silly, and then attacking the silly version of what they claim that she said. Nobody's actually directly addressing her stuff. Now, TPUSA claims that they're going to do this on December 15th, which I believe is 1, 2, 3, 4. What is that, Monday? They claim that that's what they're going to do. They're going to address her stuff. I expect, based on the statement that producer Blake Neff put out last week, based on the statement he put out last week, that is going to be more of what that statement was. That statement was taking things that she had said out of context, straw manning them to make them sound ridiculous, and then arguing against the ridiculous version of the things that she didn't even say. TPUSA is going to do that for an hour or 3 next week. And then they're going to claim that they said we're going to do this once and for all. Also, be very careful with this. This is just something for all of you to note. When people are in conflict and there's a back and forth, like through the internet, like this type of thing, and somebody comes out and they say, I'm going to address what's being said about me once and for all. I'm going to address this one time and I'm never going to talk about this again. You ever hear somebody say something like that? I'm never going to talk about this again. I'm just do it this one time. I'll never talk about it again. Usually a person who does that, in my experience, the person who does that, they're the ones who's lying. In my experience, that's the liar. The person who says that. I'm only going to talk about this once. I'm never going to address it again. Why must you talk about it again? I mean, if it's the truth is self-evident, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the truth is self-evident, which means what? The truth is not something that you control. All right, you can't lock the truth up in a box and say nobody else can access this. If you say, I'm going to talk about this once and never talk about it again, what you're about to say ain't the truth. Guaranteed. Because if it's the truth, you don't own it. The truth is not proprietary. That's why there's no such thing as my truth, your truth, his truth, her truth. There's no such thing. There's just the truth. And nobody owns the truth. Nobody has licensing rights over the truth. So if you say I'm gonna talk about this once and never talk about it again, I know you're about to tell some lies. I know you're about to say some bullshit. I'll give you a couple examples. There's a guy named Patrick Bet David. Y'all know this guy? Patrick Bet David. Y'all know who he is? There was a story that came out, and I'm going to tell you, I wasn't involved in the story, but I heard the story, and I'm just give you this experience. So Patrick Bet David has a show called, I think it's just called the Patrick Bet David Show or whatever. He invited a guy, and I've heard some Patrick Bet David stuff. I'm not a subscriber, but I see his stuff every now and then. I read a book of his. I've listened to some of his videos. Generally positive, favorable opinion of Patrick Bet David. Okay, just to be clear. He invited this guy named Jason Whitlock on the show. And Patrick Bet David's show is down in South Florida, down here somewhere, Fort Lauderdale, something like that. Jason Whitlock tells the story. The story was Jason Whitlock flies down to South Florida to be on Patrick Bet David's show. He gets in a car. As a car service gets into his hotel to bring him to the studio to do the recording. And the drive was like 30 minutes long to get to the studio. When he finally gets in the studio, he's sitting in the waiting room. Patrick Bet David comes down, shakes his hand and says, hey, they small talk. And he says, how you feel about this guy, Roland Martin? And Jason Whitlock's like, I don't mess with Roland Martin. I have no interest in him. And then Patrick Bet David was like, well, how do you feel about debating him on my show? And then Jason Whitlock said to Patrick Bet David, like, yo, you didn't invite me here under the pretense of debating somebody else. You invited me here under the pretense of I'm going to be interviewed by you. Now you're saying you want me to debate this dude. I don't even mess with dude. I don't want to debate him. And Jason says, according to the way he told the story, follow me here. He says he got up and left. Like, I see what you're trying to do here. Like, you're trying to play me. I'm good. I'm leaving. I'm going to just go home. And he walks out, leaves the studio, and he gets a ride from the same driver who brought him to the studio, right? And the driver brings him back to his hotel. The ride took like 3 minutes. And Jason's like, this can't be my hotel because when you brought me to the studio from the hotel, it took like 30 minutes. How did you get me back to the hotel in 3 minutes? And the driver said, yeah, this is the hotel. And what he finds out, this is all Jason telling the story. He finds out that the reason the ride to the studio took 30 minutes is because apparently Rowan Martin was in the waiting room and they wanted to hide Rowan Martin. And so they had Jason just drive around in circles with the driver so that by the time he got to the studio, he didn't see Rowan Martin because they were trying to do this as a setup. Now, why am I telling you this whole story? Because Jason told this story on his podcast. Now, Patrick Bet-David heard Jason tell the story. And of course, he's getting feedback from the audience like, yo, did you do this? Did this happen? Et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm listening to Patrick Bet-David's show after that happened. He comes out and he says this. This is what he said. He said, all right, I'm going to respond to what Jason said. I'm only going to talk about this one time and I'll never talk about it again. I said, I know this motherfucker's lying. I knew as soon as he said that. I said, I know he's about to tell a lie. Because that day, when the show came out, Rowan Martin was indeed on the show. It was just Rowan Martin without Jason Whitlock. So Jason was supposed to be on the show too. He wasn't on the show because he left. He said, I'm not dealing with this. I'm going home. And he just left. And so then Patrick Bet-David and Rowan Martin just had their own conversation. Now, how you feel about Rowan Martin is a different conversation. I'm generally not a fan, but whatever. He serves his purpose for whomever he works. Different conversation, different day. But Patrick Bet-David came out and said, I remember hearing him say, he said, I'm only going to address this one time, then I'll never talk about it again. Patrick, if you're telling the truth, you don't control whether it gets talked about or not. If you're telling the truth. That's how I knew what he was saying was some bullshit. I'm only going to address this one time. Whenever you hear people say that, it's not every time, but often they're hiding something. That's why they only want to talk about it once. They want to give you their version of it. They want to give you their version, and they're going to pack it up nice and neatly. And then they're going to say, I'm never talking about this again. Don't ask me about it. I'll never address this again. Why? Because, again, if there are holes in your story, somebody's going to ask you about the holes in your story. And they'll poke holes in your bullshit, and it'll become obvious that you weren't telling the truth if you talk about it again. But if you say, I'll never talk about it again, now you've basically given yourself a license to never address your fishy story that was fishy from the beginning. This is what Turning Point USA is about to do on December 15th. They said, we're going to address the nonsense that Candace Owens has put out there. That's not their words, it's my words. We're going to address what Candace Owens has said once and for all. That's what they said. That's their version of, I'm never going to talk about this again. Everybody understand? That's what they're doing. That's their version of, I'll never talk about this again. Our leader, the guy who started the company that we work at, he started the organization that is the reason that we have a job. We're going to talk about what one of his friends is saying about how he died and the fishiness around the story. We're going to talk about it once and we'll never address this again, but we're going to go on working at the organization that he created. But we'll never talk about the person who's asking the most questions about how he died. That's what we're going to do. We're not going to talk about it ever again. We're going to talk about this once and never again are we going to address this. Doesn't that sound crazy to y'all? That sounds crazy to me. That just sounds crazy to me. So y'all just going to accept what the government said. I thought we were all, and these are conservatives, right? Turning Point USA is a conservative organization, correct? I just want to make sure. Turning Point USA is a conservative organization. I thought after what happened in 2020, the virus, the jabs, 6 feet apart, cloth mask over your face, kids not going to school, social distancing. We remember all that, right? All of you are over 5 years of age. We all remember that, right? I thought it was the conservatives who had the biggest pushback against all that. Is this true? I know I have some conservatives listening to me right now. Is this true? Wasn't it the conservatives, as compared to the liberals, who had the most pushback against all the shenanigans that happened in 2020? Is this true? I'm just checking. I need a yes or a no confirmation from the audience here. Is this what it was? Okay, just checking. Now, based on that, wasn't it the government, the WHO, the United States government, both presidents, Trump and Biden, the CDC, Dr. Fauci, all these people are connected to the government. Let's just call all of that the government. Wasn't it the people on the right, the conservatives, who had the biggest challenge of the government and said, we don't trust these mofos anymore? And right after that, you got January 6th. Right after that, you got the Biden administration. Right after that, 2024, you get Trump winning again. Wasn't the whole thing, we don't trust the government? Wasn't that the whole thing? So now Turning Point USA, a political organization who worked hard via Charlie Kirk to get Donald Trump elected because we didn't trust what the government slop that's been fed to us as American citizens. Now they're saying we're just going to trust what the government says about what happened to Charlie Kirk. We're not going to question anything. And somebody who is questioning something, we are going to smear and attack her because she's wrong for questioning the official government story. Because the only other option you got is either accept what Candace is saying and accept the government, because there's nobody else giving the story. Tell me if I got this wrong, ladies and gentlemen. The only versions of the story we've heard so far is you got the government's official story, which is this guy, Tyler Robinson. He was some random person who never been to the campus before. He decides to grab a gun and go shoot Charlie Kirk that day because Charlie Kirk was bad and evil and he said things that he didn't like. Okay, that's one version. That's the story. This guy's being charged right now. He's in court and he's awaiting his trial. And the other version is whatever you want to call what Candace Owens is doing. Asking questions and saying, are we sure this is actually what happened? Are we sure the official story is the story? Those are the only options you got. And Turning Point USA, a conservative organization, they're saying we're going to accept the official story from the government and we don't want to talk about this at all. We're going to talk about it one time. And they're not going to say, notice what Turning Point USA didn't say they're going to do. They didn't say, we're going to give an official account of what happened on September 10th. They didn't say that. They didn't say we're going to give an official account of what happened to Charlie Kirk or what was happening to the money or what was our connection to Israel or who was trying to get their hooks into our organization. We're not going to answer any of those things that Candace has brought up. All they're going to do is take all the things that Candace has said. They're going to straw man what she said, and then they're going to attack that, and then they're going to say, well, we addressed that. We just addressed Candace Owens. Notice they didn't say we're going to tell you the truth. That's what they didn't say. Are y'all paying attention? See, when we talk about communication, ladies and gentlemen, communication is not just your ability to speak or write or put your message out to the world. It's also your ability to discern what other people are saying and also, most importantly, what they're not saying. What Turning Point USA did not say is I'm going to tell you the truth. They didn't say we're going to tell you what happened with Charlie Kirk leading up to September 10th and what happened in the aftermath of September 10th. They didn't say that. And they're not going to do it because they didn't say it because they're not going to do it. That's not their objective. Their objective is let's just address Candace Owens because of all the people out there. Everybody knew about Charlie Kirk. I talked about Charlie Kirk Charlie Kirk died on a Wednesday, I believe. Charlie Kirk was the subject of my live stream. This thing here every day for like a week. Everybody talked about it. Everybody knows about it. Turning Point USA knows that this is a news item, and the only reason people are still talking about it 90 days later is because Candace Owens is still talking about it. If she wasn't talking about it, this story would have died about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks. That's about how long a big news story lasts before everybody moves on to the next thing. Only reason we're still talking about it 90 days later is because of Candace Owens. Now, some people think that's a negative thing because they think she's grifting and just making shit up. And some say it's a positive thing because she's asking questions and keeping the questions alive. Either way, Turning Point USA wasn't saying a damn thing. That we know for sure. Now, maybe it's because they accepted the governmental story. Again, I'm just throwing a theory out there. I thought the conservatives didn't trust anything the government said, and they would just accept the official story from the government without asking a few other questions. That's what I thought the frame was after 2020, especially after the Biden administration. That's what I thought the frame was, but maybe I got it wrong. Maybe I got it wrong. It's possible. And them saying all we're going to do is address what Candace has said, not we're going to tell you the truth about Charlie and our organization, but we're going to address what Candace has said, not what Candace is asking, but what Candace has said. And listen to the statement that Blake Neff, that's the producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, listen to the statement he put out last week. That tells you exactly where they're at and exactly what they're going to do. All they did was take a bunch of things that Candace has said. They came up with some absurd versions of those things or some out of context versions of those things that she has said. And then he pointed them out. And the way he laid it out, it made it sound like Candace is just sounding like some kooky person who needs to be locked up and taken away. That's what he made it sound like when he said, here's some of the things Candace has said. And he said, we're going to do a live stream where we address all the things Candace has said. Well, he gave you a preview right there. What he's telling you is we're going to address the versions of the things that we handpick to address of Candace, and anything that she said that we don't want to address, anything she said that is a little bit too sticky for us, anything that she said, any questions she asked that we don't want to answer, we're going to ignore those. We're just going to pick and choose which ones we want to address, the ones that keep us in the best, most advantageous position PR wise. We're going to address those, and we're only going to do this one time. So after we do that one live stream, it's going to be a bunch of nonsense. Don't ever ask us anything else about this because we're not talking about it anymore. He's already setting you up for that. He gave you the setup for it last week. This is why they're not to be trusted. I don't know Candace Owens. I don't know anyone at Turning Point USA. I've never been to a Turning Point event. I did not know Charlie Kirk. I've never shook in the hands of any of these people. Never been in the same room as any of them as far as I know. I have no dog in this race. I do have a dog in the race of objectivity and logic and what seems to make sense. What makes sense to me is that Turning Point USA is hiding something, and they know that they're hiding something. And therefore, again, this is the reason why they put that statement out last week. This is the reason why they're doing a live stream the way that they're doing it. This is the reason why they, along with others, have coordinated a plot to smear the name of Candace Owens, because they can't smear the exact points that she's making. Again, some people are trying, but they can't really smear the points. What they do is smear the person. If we smear the person strongly enough, people will ignore the points. That's their goal. The problem is 2025. It's about to be 2026. That doesn't work anymore. I told y'all this last week. We know that this doesn't work anymore. We know that just because you come out and say, I'm this type of person, or I have this status, or I have this name, or I have this brand around me, that you just listen to what I say. We know this doesn't work anymore. Can anybody tell me how we know this doesn't work anymore? This is before Charlie Kirk died. Does anybody know the tent pole outcome event that happened that told all of us that we all know for sure that just because someone has a certain name or because someone has been smeared personally, that doesn't mean people are either going to listen to them just because of who you are, and we're not going to ignore you just because something negative got put on your name. Anybody remember what that was? Anybody know what it was? All you know what it is, but you may not be thinking about it. But I just want to see if any of you knows before I tell you. What has happened in the past that was a loud and clear signal from all of the country that just because you have a certain name and a certain status doesn't mean we're going to listen to you. Just because someone smeared your name does not mean we're going to ignore you. Yes, 2024 election. 2024, folks. November 2024 was a loud and clear signal from the whole world to everybody else in the world. Just because you're a famous singer, Beyonce, just because you're a popular rapper, Megan Thee Stallion, just because you're number one on in the music charts on Spotify, Taylor Swift, does not mean that your word is going to make us go vote for a certain candidate, Kamala Harris. And so that told us, number one, just because you have a certain name, status, etc., does not mean we're going to buy what you say just because you said it. That was a loud and clear signal in November of 2024. The second loud and clear signal was just because you get 34 felony convictions against a person, Alvin Bragg, just because you get a fraud charge and a financial judgment against a person, Letitia James, just because you put a RICO charge on a former president, Fannie Willis, just because you get a document case against a president where you're trying to get him incarcerated, Jack Smith, does not mean we won't go vote for the guy if we can see through the coordinated plot and we know that this is some bullshit and this is some lawfare. President Donald Trump. November 2024 was a signal from everybody to everybody that your name alone does not mean we're going to accept what you say. And your associations alone don't mean we'll accept what you say. And smearing a person or attacking a person or slandering a person's name in a coordinated attempt is not enough to get us to not listen to that person. It actually is going to make us lean more into that person and find out, why are you so strongly against this individual? It must be something that they're doing that y'all don't like. And we actually like that. That's the reason we're going to go support them. This is why Candace Owens' audience is growing the way it is growing. Not because Candace Owens is so great. I think Candace Owens is pretty good. I think the reason her audience continues to grow is because the slander is causing more people to go look at it. It's like a car accident. You know, when you drive past a car accident, everybody slows down to see what happened. Everybody slows down to see the wreckage. All right, that's what's happening right now. I'm not saying Candace Owens is the car accident. The car accident are the people smearing Candace Owens. And the more people who smear Candace Owens, the more it makes other people curious. Okay, what is it about this Candace Owens person that they got to keep attacking her? Let me go find out what she's saying. All they're doing is bringing her more audience. The problem is, this is the same as Trump derangement syndrome. So I start calling it CDS. So you got TDS, which is Trump derangement syndrome. I call this CDS. This is Candace derangement syndrome. Or we can call it CODS, Candace Owens derangement syndrome. Which one y'all like better, CDS or CODS? I think CDS because it plays off TDS. A lot of these people have CDS right now, Candace derangement syndrome, or at least they look like they do. I don't know. Maybe they're just being told to do this because they're getting paid. Now, if somebody reached out to me and said, Dre, we'll give you $10,000 every day. You got to make 5 posts bashing Candace Owens. I might do it for the $10,000. The point is that it looks like these people have CDS. They got Candace derangement syndrome. So let's just go bash Candace. If every influencer you see is bashing Candace, then Candace must be doing something effective. This is what we learned in 2020. We learned this in 2024. If everybody, quote unquote, everybody, is bashing the same person for the same reason, now I want to know, who is this person? What is it about what they're doing that has everybody talking negatively about them? Because again, if somebody's saying some bullshit, all you got to do is let them keep talking. If someone's saying something that's actually not true and is actually false and actually has no substance and no value, all you got to do is let them keep talking. They will bury themselves. The more they talk, the more obvious it becomes that what they're saying has no value and no substance. This is the way it works, ladies and gentlemen. Anytime you have somebody saying something about you that is not true, it is patently false. I'm not saying you have to sit there and take it. All you got to do is let them keep talking. Let them go as far as they want to go. Let them say everything that they want to say. Then you take everything that they said and use it against them to bury them. That's all you got to do. What you don't do is try to stop them in the middle of making a mistake. Again, remember Barack Obama. Find this clip. It was Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was trying to say that Barack Obama did ABC. He was completely wrong. All Barack Obama did was just sit there and let him keep talking. And then he said, all right, fact check him on that. And he said, continue, Governor. Let him keep talking. And he played himself. Let me see if I can find this clip. It was... I remember this is back when, who was those guys? It was Bill Maher. What's the guy's name of the Daily Show? Jon Stewart and Colbert. I remember they all had a field day with this because it was really funny because they were all pretty much leaning to the left at this time. And here it is. All right, y'all want to hear this? Let's see if we can get away with this. I'm going to play this clip so y'all can hear it. This is from the ABC site, Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. No, ads playing on YouTube.
I think it's interesting. The president just said something which is that on the day after the attack, he went to the Rose Garden and said that this was an act of. I think it's interesting. The president just said something which is that on the day after the attack, he went to the Rose Garden and said that this was an act of terror. You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
I want to make sure we get that for the record because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
He did, in fact, sir. So let me call it an act of terror.
Can you say that a little louder, Candace?
He did call it an act of terror. It did as well take 2 weeks or so for the whole idea of there being a riot out there about this tape to come out. You're correct about that.
The administration indicated that this was a reaction to a video and was a spontaneous reaction. It took them a long time to say this was a terrorist act by a terrorist group.
So see, this is what happens in politics. It's all about the soundbite. And Mitt Romney got caught there. The moderator was trying not to play sides. Interestingly enough, 12 years ago, that's the way moderators actually worked. It's a completely different world now. And she conceded a point to Mitt Romney to help him save face. So she didn't look like she was working for Barack Obama, but he played himself for what he said there. He said, you didn't call it an act of terror. And Barack Obama said, get the transcript. Why did Barack Obama say, get the transcript? Because get the transcript is the truth. Transcript is what I actually said, not your version of what I said. The transcript is what I actually said that day. Get the transcript. And as soon as Mitt Romney said that, all Barack Obama did was take a sip of water. He just sat there. He said, okay, get the transcript. And he pointed at the moderator. Get the transcript. Prove it. And the truth, ladies and gentlemen, when the truth is on your side, you have nothing to hide. You don't try to shut the other person down. You let them talk. Let them say whatever they want to say. And when the truth comes out, all you got to do is sit there and watch them destroy themselves because now they got to either apologize or backtrack or act like they didn't say it, or they just have to disappear. Isn't that what they want Candace Owens to do? They want her to disappear, right? If you want Candace Owens to disappear, what you should do is stop pushing back against her and just let her talk. If what she's saying is not true. Because all she's going to do is ruin her reputation. If she ends up being wrong about all these things that she's saying, if she ends up being wrong about all of this, Candace Owens is done. Her career is over. But what I notice, y'all tell me what you see, she's getting bigger. Her audience is getting larger. Her star is rising, and she has more attention on her now than she's ever had. Is it all a grift? Is it all because she's lying? Is it all because she's using Charlie Kirk's name? Maybe. If that's the case, she'll be done as soon as the truth comes out. But again, here's my question, ladies and gentlemen. From where shall we get the truth? Are we going to get it from Turning Point USA? Can't get it from Charlie. He's dead. Are we going to get it from the government? From where do we get the truth? If Candace Owens is wrong and the truth contradicts everything that she says, how will we know? Somebody answer that question in the comments. How will we know the truth? If it ain't coming from Candace, where are we getting it from? Someone name a source so that we know what the truth is. And see, this is the problem. What Turning Point USA should have done, if they're actually telling the truth, or if they have the truth on their side, because they haven't actually told anything yet. If Turning Point USA has the truth on their side, what they should do, or what they should have done, is say, Candace, let's do this live stream. You stream from there in Nashville. You got internet. You got the internet over there. Your stream was pretty good when you do your show. We're going to stream from over here in Phoenix, Scottsdale, wherever they are. And let's have this conversation. You can ask any question you want. We will answer every single question you have to your satisfaction, to the satisfaction of your audience. So we make sure that everybody's on the same page. Does that work for you, Candace? I think Candace would have accepted that. What y'all think? Would that have worked? If that's what they had offered Candace Owens? Question everybody. Would they have worked? Would she have accepted that? You stream from your house. We'll stream from our studio. You ask any question you want. Throw out anything you want to throw out. We're actually not even going to go down a list of everything you said over 90 days because you said too much. We want you to just come to us with your questions. As a matter of fact, Candace, as an act of courtesy, why don't you just give us all the questions you want to ask? All right, you got 30, give us 30. You got 10, give us 10. You got 18, give us 18. Just give us every question you want to ask. Then we're going to give us the questions up front. We're going to prepare our answers to your questions, and then you ask it, and then we'll answer it. So we at least know what you're coming with, so we can be ready, so this can be professionally done. Would Candace Owens have said yes to that? Of course she would have. Why didn't Turning Point USA offer it? Because if they're telling the truth, that's what they should have offered. They should have just said, okay, ask whatever you want. Let's go. Whatever you got, let's do it. Give us all the questions. We'll get all the necessary parties together so that they know what's going on, so that everybody who can, or he can answer that question, you answer that. All right, them over there, they can answer this question. I'll answer that question. This guy, he'll answer that question. We'll get everybody together who can answer all the questions, and let's just answer them one by one until you're satisfied. So you have no further questions. Let's do it. Why don't they do that? If you're telling the truth, that's the way you handle it. If you're telling the truth and someone is creating momentum by saying negative things about you, that's all you got to do is say, okay, take all the negative things you got about me and put them all on a list, and let's go through them one by one. I want to make sure you're completely satisfied that everything you've addressed everything you've thrown out there has been addressed. Have we satisfied you, Candace? Have we answered your every question? That's all they got to do. But they don't want to do that, because doing that would expose them, which is why that statement that Blake Neff put out last week was written by an attorney. If you're telling the truth, what you got a lawyer for? Writing a statement on a podcast. Now, I understand you got a lawyer because you might get sued. I understand you have a lawyer for a potentially getting sued, not by Candace Owens, but I understand why they have a lawyer on retainer. But why is a lawyer writing that statement for this situation? Why? If you're telling the truth. I don't need a lawyer to tell the truth. So this is the question I got. Now, Tim Pool, make sure I don't call him Tim Cook. Tim Pool says, we're going to lose the midterms because she's a POS, piece of poop. Instead of saying, let's come together and work together, she says the stupidest, retarded crap. This is what Tim Pool said out of his mouth. I got to be careful saying that R word. I'm not supposed to say that on TikTok. She says the stupidest R word crap. He claimed she's, quote unquote, making everyone else suffer by fueling infighting, comparing it to internal sabotage worse than left-wing attacks. This is what Tim Pool is saying about Candace Owens. Instead of saying, let's come together and work together, she says the stupidest R word crap. First of all, come together and work together on what? I think she's inviting everybody to come together. I think Candace Owens is inviting everybody. Hey, I don't accept the official story about what happened to Charlie Kirk. Come with me on this ride. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like she's doing to me. She says the stupidest R word crap. Now, what does that sound like? This sounds something like a 5-year-old would say. You're stupid in R word crap. That's what you're saying. This is all emotion from Tim Pool. This is feminine energy. Whenever you hear me talk about feminine energy, this is an example of it. It's when a man exhibits the behavior of a woman, but still in the body of a man. This is feminine energy. When you just go on a rant, on a personal rant, everything he's saying here is personal. He's just personally attacking Candace Owens. Now, why does Tim Pool have such personal negative opinions about Candace Owens? Because of what she's saying about Charlie Kirk. What is his real issue here? I'm not quite sure what it is. I don't know. I don't know Tim Pool. But all of this is just personally attacking Candace Owens. This is all ad hominem. If the point is easy enough to destroy, you have no need to address the person. This is what you all got to understand about the ad hominem logical fallacy. If the point is easy enough to destroy, you have no need to address the person. You only have to say anything about them. You can just destroy the point and let them live. Just destroy their point. And their point falls apart. The person is already looks bad because you destroyed their point. And you just let it stand. Because again, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is self-evident. And there's only one truth. There's no different versions of the truth. The truth is not a plurality and the truth is not proprietary. Nobody owns the truth and there's not more than one of them. It's just one. And it belongs to everybody. Continuing. Tim Pool says she's doing this for financial benefit. She benefited from Kirk's assassination via, he didn't say this, but via her clicks and her views. So people are saying this is another attack on Candace. She's just using Charlie Kirk's death to get attention for herself. Well, what is everybody who's bashing her doing? They're using her to get attention for themselves. So they're appealing to morality, like, hey, I'm a better person than Candace Owens. Look at me attacking her, and you get attention for attacking Candace Owens. So if she's getting attention from Charlie Kirk's death, you're getting attention from her getting attention from Charlie Kirk's death, so you're contributing to it. Because by bashing her, you make people go say, well, who's this that you're bashing? So you are contributing to the very thing that you acclaim to be decrying. So it doesn't quite make any sense. And he said, who stood to gain by Charlie Kirk dying? Her. How did she gain from Charlie Kirk dying? She wasn't even involved in the organization. Nobody knew she was going to come out and start doing this. Anybody could have did it. So how did she stand to gain from Charlie Kirk dying? It doesn't logically make any sense. Now, he says she's monetizing the tragedy. Well, everybody's monetizing attacking her. So everybody's monetizing. Again, this is when people start throwing out that word grift. All grift means is somebody's doing some type of scam. They're making money, but they're doing something dishonest. So what people usually mean when they say somebody is grifting is that what they're saying is, I don't like what you're doing, and you happen to be making money from it, so that means you're a grift. That means you're grifting. I don't like what you're doing, number one, and you happen to be making money, so that means there's a grift. That's what people usually mean when they say grift. That's not what a grift is. A grift means you're doing something dishonest. You are literally scamming and defrauding people. What people usually mean, though, is not that. They just call what you're doing a scam because they are emotionally engaged in attacking you rather than just addressing your point. They address the person. Again, by calling somebody a grifter. It is a common term that now has lost its value because everybody uses it anytime they see something that they don't like. So he says, Tim Pool said Charlie Kirk was doing, quote unquote, real work building TPUSA, and that Candace is crossing the line by insinuating things without evidence, turning it into a soap opera for women's emotions and donations, which is very rich for him to say. A man goes on a rant on his podcast with a whole bunch of personal attacks on a woman and saying that she is using what she's doing to leverage women's emotions. It doesn't make any sense. He's the one with the feminine emotions. Again, this is feminine energy, folks. A man is responsible for containing and channeling his energy, not allowing the energy to leak out of him or flood out of him as Tim is doing here in bashing Candace Owens. If you really think Candace Owens is wrong, then just take an episode of her show. Her show is only about an hour a piece. It's often less, shorter. And just go point by point and just dissect what she got wrong. That's it. That's all you got to do. Why is nobody doing it? Why is no one doing it? Now, there are people who claim to be doing that, but what they're doing is, again, as I already explained, they're straw manning her points. They take the things that she says, they make them sound silly, and then they attack the silly version of what she didn't even say. And then they say, well, see, here it is. I already broke down what she said. And I think most people know that they're doing this. Even the people who support the people who are doing that to Candace, They know what's being done, but because they already don't like Candace, any explanation can serve as an explanation. Any excuse serves as a good excuse if you want an excuse. It's like if my neighbor comes to me and says, "Hey, Dre, let me borrow your lawnmower," and I say, "No, you can't borrow my lawnmower because I'm watching a football game." That doesn't make any sense. What does me watching a football game have to do with you borrowing my lawnmower? Well, the answer is nothing. But if I want to come up with an excuse, then any excuse serves. It doesn't matter. Any excuse is good enough. So if I don't like Candace Owens, and you claim that on your social media or your YouTube, you're breaking down Candace Owens' show and explaining why she's wrong, but I know that you're strawmanning every point that she made, but I don't like Candace Owens, I'll accept that what you did is actually right, even though I know it's some nonsense. Why? Because I don't like Candace Owens. It doesn't matter. Anything that assuages my emotions, my negative emotions about her, is good enough. It doesn't matter what you actually said. And this is what everybody's doing. Tim Pool says, all these effing conservatives, I'm trying to cut back on my profanity here just for TikTok's sake. All these effing conservatives out there that send me these effing messages have no effing balls to call her out. He says that people say to him, "Good for you, Tim. Good for you, Tim." I wasn't the first person to do it. I'm not going to take credit for it. So Tim Pool, what he's intimating here is that he called out Candace Owens, and a lot of conservatives won't call out Candace Owens. Tim Pool, what world are you living in? For the last, 6 weeks? All conservatives, a whole bunch of conservatives have been bashing Candace Owens. Have y'all noticed this? For the last 6 weeks, I see hundreds of people clearly on the conservative side, by the things that they say, bashing Candace Owens every single day. Most people, I don't even know who these people are. Just bashing Candace Owens. Let's see if we can pull up a few. I get on X. I'm just going on X and I'm just going to search the name Candace Owens. Actually, I don't even got to do that. I can just go on my For You feed and I see a bunch of people, Candace Owens. So this guy named Keith Woods, bashing Candace Owens. He has 249,000 followers. I'm just looking just at the top of my For You feed. Bashing Candace Owens, Keith Woods. Then there's, let's see, Ian Miles Cheong. Y'all know this guy. He lives in Dubai, Tokyo, and Rome, according to him. 1.2 million followers. Bashing Candace Owens. He called Candace Owens a sociopath in his latest post. This came out 8 hours ago. Then there is, let's see. And again, I don't even have to search. The older millennial calls Candace Owens effing stupid. And he calls her stupid. He has 292,000 followers. And he put up a fake post to try to get attention. Then there is Viva Frey. Viva has 758,000 followers. He says, he posted a clip of something Candace said. He said, "This alone confirms pretty much all the criticism against her. Tim Pool is a good man. He's a hardworking man. He is an unimpeachably honest man. To say something like this is permanently discrediting." Really? I don't think so. This woman named Morgan Ariel said, Candace responds to Tim Pool's unhinged emotional tirade from last night, calling him a weak man and a coward. I agree with what she said last night about Tim Pool. That any man who can't contain his emotions, especially about a woman, and you just go on a verbal tirade against the woman simply because you have a disagreement with her, if this is all just a disagreement, then that's feminine energy. This is a man who can't control his emotions. A man who cannot control his emotions is a very dangerous man. All right, this is where we get the school situations and the mass situations with the weapons that I got to be careful what language I use here because of TikTok censor, AI censors. All right, this is where they come from. They come from this pool, pardon the pun, of people. Men who cannot control their emotions are the most dangerous people in society. A woman who can't control her emotions does not have the physicality of a man. They don't have the instincts of a man. They don't pick up a weapon and go use it in a mass way. The mass way is always a man, right? It's never a woman. You've never seen a mass shooter female. The reason why it's always often a man, because men have these instincts. A man who can't control his emotions is a very dangerous individual. Tim Pool cannot control his emotions when it comes to Candace Owens. And the thing we're trying to figure out is why he can't control them. But let's continue. Let me see if I can find a couple others who've been bashing Candace Owens. They're pretty easy to find, as you can see. And I'm just scrolling down my feed. So this is a guy named the Reverend. He claims he's a Reverend. His name is Jordan Wells. Y'all ever heard of this guy? He has 91,000 followers. This guy does not sound like a Reverend. The things that I see him posting, he's just coming up on my For You feed. I don't follow this guy, but he comes up on my For You feed. This guy does not talk like a Reverend. He says she's not a conservative. She's all about herself, not the country. People change, and she's changed for the worse. So he's trying to distance her from the conservative. He's trying to kick her off the lunch table. You can't sit with us. That's pretty much what he's saying. Obsessed with conspiracies and turning point. Wake up, Candace. If Dems get their way, you'll lose your free speech too. They hate it. They hate it when they're in power. Your freedom depends on the fights you're ignoring. So he's framing this around, you need to get back on board with the conservative movement so that we can win the midterm, so that we can stay in political power. That's what he's framing this as. Now, this guy claims to be a reverend. I know the reverend's number one priority is winning the midterm elections. I don't know. Any of you into the church, can you tell me if that's how it goes? I didn't know this to be the case, but one of you help me out. I did not know the priority of a reverend was we need to win the midterm elections, whether you're on the left or on the right. I didn't know this was a thing. Reverend Jordan Wells is this guy's name. Any of you know this guy? He doesn't say where he's located, but in his profile, he has an Israeli flag. He calls himself a pastor, an apologist, and a Zionist. Those are the first three things he says about himself. And he says he's making this all about the conservative movement. We need Candace to get back on the program of helping the conservatives win the election. This is the main reason a lot of conservatives have an issue with Candace Owens. By the way, now that I'm thinking about it, is that Candace Owens has a strong voice amongst conservative voters. And she's questioning one of the strongest conservative organizations was the TPUSA, which is making a divide in the conservative party. And they're seeing this as she is strong enough to drive voters away from voting for Republicans. And that means we're going to lose. That's the real reason that they're mad. These people don't give a damn about Charlie Kirk or how he died. All that is for show. That's the good reason. The real reason is they want to win. They want to win politically so they can move themselves forward. That's what they really want. And Candace Owens is strong enough to cause an effect in the outcomes of those elections. So Candace says she doesn't care about that. She's focusing on Charlie Kirk. She has a right to that, but they care about it because they're not focused on Charlie Kirk. They're using Charlie Kirk as a crutch for their real issue with Candace Owens, is that she's challenging one of the biggest conservative organizations, TPUSA, who, by the way, dispenses a whole bunch of money to influencers to push the message that they want to get pushed. Follow the money, ladies and gentlemen. Follow the money. TPUSA takes in a lot of money in donations and they send a lot of money out. Where they send that money to? Influencers who push the message that they want pushed. Right now, I believe, this is just a theory. I don't know this to be true. I have no proof, no evidence. I believe TPUSA is using their money on influencers, telling them, shut this bitch up. And they're trying, but it's not working. That's what I think. And this is the reason why I said it 10 minutes ago. Over the last 6 weeks, a bunch of influencers have been bashing Candace Owens. And I've been telling y'all that this is coordinated. TPUSA didn't come out with a statement until like a week ago, right? So for about 5 weeks, they said, let's just use our money and get the influencers to shut her up. And after 5 weeks of that not working and it actually backfiring, finally they said, okay, now we got to shut her up. And now here we are. Are y'all paying attention? And again, this is just a theory. I have no proof, no evidence of any of this. There's a guy named Eyal Jacoby. I see his stuff come up often. Eyal has 234,000 followers. He's a 23-year-old graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, and he's going to MIT, according to his bio. He bashes Candace like every day. And after he posts a clip of Candace bashing, or not bashing, but responding to Tim, and he says, well, any podcasters speak up for Tim or are most just cowards. So he's offering you the false binary right there. If you don't speak up for Tim, you're a coward. That's what he's saying. Let's see if I give you one more. There's so many of these. Let me see if I can find one more. Somebody bashing Candace Owens. So let's see. So I see a person whose name I can't say. His last name starts with the letter T. Not the main guy, but his brother, giving Candace some credit. Here's what he said. This is TT is his initials. Those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, ask a friend. They'll tell you who it is. So TT says, Candace Owens has bigger balls than 99% of men who post their opinions online. I said this like 6 months ago. This is before Charlie Kirk, by the way. She's ready and willing to face the fire. Too many quote unquote men on here only care about being popular. They would drop the act and reverse their positions the moment they were thrown in the cell. That was said by Mr. TT. Again, some of you know who that is, some of you don't. He has a brother who's very well known, whose name I cannot say on this app right here. That's TikTok that I'm pointing to. Anyway, let's see. Another person named the Quarter Ring. He has 407,000 followers. Mr. TT, by the way, he has 3.4 million followers. The Quarter Ring says Tim Pool is going to sue Candace Owens for implying his brother tried attacking him with a gun. She has been dancing on the defamation line for months now, especially with TPUSA, and I don't suspect this will be the only suit. Well, I think TPUSA is going to sue Candace. I already told you that last week. Tim Pool has no grounds upon which to sue Candace Owens. That's not going to happen. If he does, he's going to embarrass himself. So that's not going to happen. Let's see what else. All right, that's enough. I gave y'all enough examples here. Let's get into the commentary because I can go on and on here, as you can see. Let me see if there's anything else that I didn't give you. Tim Pool says, well, TPUSA didn't invite me to their event. I don't want to go. They invited me back, and I started criticizing Candace. I'm not going to your event. I'm over all of this. Tim is claiming that he might shut down his whole thing because he claims it costs him more money for security than what he even makes from the show and whatever. Let's see. Tim Pool says, Charlie Kirk died answering questions from people who disagreed with him. Now they're making it seem like asking uncomfortable questions is not something Charlie would do. Nobody's making it seem that way. Asking uncomfortable questions is only person doing that right now is Candace Owens. So if anything, she's continuing the legacy of Charlie Kirk. Who else is asking uncomfortable questions about the Charlie Kirk death besides Candace Owens? Can somebody give me a name? Tell me their name. I'll go look them up right now. Who is asking, of well-known influencers, who is asking uncomfortable questions about Charlie Kirk's death? The only person I see doing it is Candace Owens. And look what they're doing to her for doing it. That's what y'all should understand. Look what they're doing to her for doing it. You remember Elon Musk and Doge back in February, March of this year? You see how they responded to him when he started looking around the money? Look at the way they responded to Candace Owens for asking uncomfortable questions about Charlie Kirk's death. Why does anybody care about the questions being asked? He's dead either way. Whether she asks the questions or doesn't ask the questions, the guy's still dead. Why do they care so much about the questions she's asking? She said this when she first started doing it. She said, I'm just asking questions. What's you all's problem? All I'm doing is asking questions. What's the issue? The truth is self-evident, folks. So, a bunch of conservatives have been co-signing Tim Pool, of course. And me, as I just said, many others, some others who are strongly on the conservative side have been talking about this stuff for a while. But I want to get to the commentary. First, I need to get to the restroom. I need to take a quick restroom break, folks. Then we'll get to the commentary. Let's see what you all have to say about this. And then we'll fire up our soundboard. We'll get to use some of our favorites.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Oh, my new favorite. Give me 90 seconds, folks.
Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down!
I'll just get my Spider-Man walkie-talkies. Spider-Man walkie-talkies. My bubble back. I'll just get my...
Oh, okay.
Daddy's here! Daddy's here! Daddy!
Let's get to it.
Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down!
All right. I like that one. That's the funniest one. All right. So we got a lot of comments on Instagram and on YouTube. Let me get to these quickly, then we'll get to TikTok. We may do a little bit of overtime here today, folks, if y'all don't mind. So Girlies Samara said, well, you just said good morning. She said, clear coordinator. I'm a military vet, 20-year lawyer. This is so dang on sloppy and transparently bad. My spidey senses are going crazy. Well, we know what's transparent. They don't care. That's the thing. They know it's coordinated. They don't care that it's coordinated. Girl, he said, your son is the best cameo I've seen on any platform. Yes, because it is not coordinated. So some days he comes in, some days he doesn't. The Spidey walkie-talkies, yeah, and it doesn't work that well. It's a cheap toy. A lot of these toys you get on Amazon are cheap. So Ms. Joey said Trump could announce an investigation on the threat against Candace and address the Epstein files and sweep midterms. He's not. Actually, that's a good point. And he could do that. I doubt he's going to do that because, first of all, Candace is going against Trump. So any chance of him doing that are slim to none. Girl said, I can't believe TPUSA thinks we are that dumb and that they thought Charlie and Candace weren't still friends. Well, and there's a whole bunch of conservative influences besides this TPUSA. Ms. Joey said they forgot that those taught us to examine nonprofits with serious side eye. Now they want to call us crazy. Yeah, nonprofits have always been questionable. Most of the money that goes to nonprofits, any of you donate money to charity, most of that money is not going to the thing that the charity is for, by the way. Most of the money goes to administrative fees, i.e. the people who work at the charity. Girlie said, I have resigned from 2 nonprofits for funny business. It's sickening that most of them are tax exempt. They do not provide a benefit to anyone but their C-suite and benefit. Exactly what I just said. That's where most of the money, any of you give money to charity, the money's not going to the sick kids or to the cows or whatever you think you're donating to. The money's going in the pockets of the people who work there. Girlie said, the attack on her personally and calling her evil is even ridiculous. The Bible says those that oppose questions are those that are lying. Well, I'm glad that's in the Bible because it's obvious even on a logical level that they're lying. Girlie said, I'm going to use it as a BS detector. You should. Ms. Joey said, TPUSA is not a conservative or they've been cosplaying. CBS is hosting Erica Kirk in the town hall. When did a major network ever do something like that for a conservative? Fair enough. Fair question. Girlie said, TPUSA is amazing that the 23-year-old Mikey is not selling the way they had planned. Yeah, that's the problem. Candace is kind of throwing a wrench in what they were doing. Sherry Cobb said, my favorite quote from Candace is, if I can find Macron's genitals, then I can find Charlie's killer. Fair enough. Sherry said, they act like we are too dumb to see what they're doing. It's the same playbook over and over again. Nothing new under the sun. Fair enough. Ms. Joey said, Candace bought 6 degrees of separation to journalism. That's a good point. That's true. She did do that. Diddy situation exposed a lot. Girlie said, I like CODS because it's easy and distinct. But CDS connects to TDS. That's the reason why I think CDS might stick. CODS is harder to say and harder to know exactly what you're saying when somebody says CODS. Sherry said, Candace is beating them at their own game. She's clearly playing chess and moving strategically. Maybe. We'll see. We got to see the end game. It's so creepy to sell that Freedom t-shirt, and yes, you're right. Yeah, fair enough. Document this said, the problem I have with the just asking questions things, it seems like it is used as a way to make accusations while also avoiding accountability. Well, document, that's what the internet's for. I mean, isn't that what the internet is? People get on the internet and just say stuff, and they avoid accountability. Also, document this to go to your question. Who in the government gets held accountable when they're wrong? Answer is nobody. People in the government come out and say stuff, end up being wrong, and there's no accountability. Speaking of such, let's look at 2020. 2020, the head of the CDC, the WHO, Dr. Fauci, President Trump, and then President Biden all came out and they all said the same thing. If you take this jab, you will not get the virus. They were all wrong. Who was held accountable? Give me a name. Nobody. Nobody was held accountable. So when people say, and it's not just about you, document this, when people say, well, just asking questions means you don't get held accountable, I say, so the hell what? Who else gets held accountable? Who's getting held accountable in the government right now for anything going wrong? When the government messes up, who gets held accountable? The answer is nobody. A congressperson comes out and they make a claim. They say something is like this, is like that, and they end up being wrong. They use our taxpayer dollars to try to prove themselves, end up being wrong anyway. Do they get held accountable for doing it? The answer is no, they don't. So the people in power, political power that is, they don't get held accountable ever for anything. So I don't even agree with the frame that people say, well, Candace doesn't get held accountable if she ends up being wrong. I say, so what? It's about time they spread that out to everybody. They should spread that out to everybody that nobody gets held accountable for being wrong if she actually is indeed wrong. Maybe she's right. Let's consider that as well. Ron Lilly Foundation checking in from Uganda. Good morning on Instagram. Angie B, good morning. You ever on record? You ever recorded in Detroit? Anthony Ortega, good morning. Let's see. Anthony said, "Do I think it was a loan? I don't know. We don't have enough information yet." All right, so let's get over to you folks on TikTok. We're already at 100,000 likes. Thank you, everybody, for the likes. Wifey Tips, good morning. Martina O'Neill said, "That show can be messy. I stopped watching him." Who are you talking about? You talking about Tim Pool? Carlos said, "I don't know any of these people." Patrick Bet David. Patrick Bet David with a D. I was just giving you the example. You don't have to know who he is. The fact that he said, "I'm only going to talk about this one time," when he was the one being accused, that told me I knew he was lying. Echo said, TP was a conservative organization, but not sure what it is now. So a few of you have said that. So, okay, I don't really follow them. I didn't really follow them that much. I knew who Charlie Kirk was. But other than that, I wasn't really paying attention to them that much. Smoky Mountain Drip said, even only knew him because he talked online. I even want answers no matter the truth. Yeah, me too. I only knew him from he would pop up every now and then. Chrissy says, TP is conservative, and yes, conservatives have gotten the most pushback, have gave the most pushback. Of course they have. What, the liberals don't need to say anything. Echo said, TP now equals toilet paper. Hot Cheetos, good morning. Miss B. Rex said, because TP USA set it up. Maybe. They got to prove that. Night Owl said, I'm confused about the BB speaking about Charlie. Well, that's what Candace was confused about too. Smoky Mountain said, the man who questioned everyone and everything for a living shouldn't have questions asked on. Yeah, exactly. You're correct. Nisa said, I wonder if Candace will be in the courtroom during that trial. Talking about the Tyler Robinson trial? I highly doubt it. Chrissy said, look at you exposing these critical thinking skills, Drew. I do this every day. Smoky Mountain says, such a crazy time. Yes. Chrissy said, I'm paying attention. Thank you for pointing this out. You're welcome. Cheeto said, yeah, I'm paying close attention now. Chelsea said, can they talk about it since it's still under investigation with the court? Technically, that's the cover that they can use. The government can say that. Cash Patel, for example, can say that. Turning Point USA can say whatever the hell they want to say. Nobody can stop them from talking. They're not under gag order. They might have been asked by authorities, hey, maybe don't talk about this or this or this. But generally, if Tyler Robinson is the shooter, he's the lone gunman, and he did it, and he's already in custody, what is Turning Point USA protecting? What else is there that they be protecting by talking? The answer is nothing. And we know that they can talk, Chelsea, because they're doing a live stream on December 15th addressing Candace Owens. If they couldn't talk, they could just come out with a statement and say, hey, we are saddened by the death of Charlie Kirk, and we're trying to move on as an organization. And because this is an ongoing investigation, we are prohibited from saying certain things. We will talk about this in full as soon as the investigation is concluded. But for now, we can't say anything about it. They could have said that, and we would have said, okay, now we know why they're not talking. But what did they do? They did nothing. Then they sent influencers to shut up Candace Owens. Now they're going to talk. So clearly they could have talked the entire time, which makes them look even more questionable. Why'd you wait 90 days to start talking? Your guy died 3 months ago. Why'd you wait till December to start talking? Candace Owens had to smoke y'all out to get y'all to stop talking, to get y'all to start talking about your guy. Why didn't you say something a week after he died? Why didn't you say something a month off there? Why didn't you say something at Thanksgiving? Why are you waiting until now when clearly you could have talked the entire time? It's not like they got the green light from officials to start talking. They could have been said something. So the fact that they're saying something late actually makes them look worse. Smoky Mountain said they foreshadowed their hand. Yeah, Carla said, Carla telling people to seek refunds of their donations is wrong. I don't think so. If you donated to an organization and found out that you gave that donation under false pretenses, you want your money back, wouldn't you? Well, Heck said, this makes no sense. Why would TP want their cash cow removed? Well, have you listened to Candace's show? She's kind of connected the dots here, theoretically, as to why they would want to do it. And the cash cow for TP USA, Heck 60, you're asking, your frame is actually incorrect here. The cash cow is TP USA. The cash cow is not Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk built TP USA, but TP USA exists without Charlie Kirk. Proof. He's been dead for 90 days and the organization still exists. So Charlie Kirk built the organization. The organization was separate from Charlie Kirk. He was the conductor. He was the one driving the train. But now that he's no longer driving the train, they put somebody else in the driver's seat and the organization is still going. The money that they bring in is based on the strength of the organization. Yes, the value of having Charlie there as the figurehead helped, but the organization can still bring in money without him because he built it in that way, which is what you should do. with an organization. You want to build it such that it can sustain even if you're not there, was exactly what TPUSA is doing right now. So he actually isn't the cash cow. The organization itself is the cash cow. Carlos said her telling people not to vote is ridiculous. Did she say that? I didn't hear that. But it's not ridiculous to tell people not to vote. If you don't like the candidates, what should you do? What would you do instead? Vote for one of them even though you don't like them? Heck says a different government now, slightly more trust. Maybe. Last Farm, thanks for the share. Martina said the conservatives run the government. Not really. I say politicians run the government. Some of them are conservative, some of them are liberal. But the government is run by a system of checks and balances, which means neither side can just do whatever they want. Hansi said, if it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. That's true. Maddie said, I thought people involved were told not to discuss because it's an open investigation and trial. Okay, that's what I just addressed 2 minutes ago, Maddie. If that's the case, why is Turning Point USA doing a live stream on Monday? If they can't talk because it's an open investigation, the investigation is not going to be closed by Monday. Why are they talking? Well, Heck said maybe Candace is afraid of becoming irrelevant and is sensationalizing. Candace Owens has been known for about 10 years. Well, heck, I don't think she's afraid of becoming irrelevant because she had a lot of buzz after her Brigitte Macron situation investigation that she was already doing. So I highly doubt this is the issue for Candace Owens. Chelsea said they talk the gunman can get off from a mistrial. Now, that's not true. I don't know where you got that information. Hansi says something smells fishy in my opinion. Like I said, yesterday, Erica said Charlie picked the TPUSA team and they're like family. Yeah, that's not news. We know that he picked the team, and we know they're probably all cool with each other. That doesn't absolve them from responsibility. If they did something, it doesn't mean they couldn't have done something wrong, as alluded to by Candace Owens. Hot Cheeto said, this is strange. We're agreeing on most of these issues. Why is it strange? Smoky Mountain said, nothing is what we were told it is for decades. Generally true. Feather says, CDS. Yeah, I like CDS. My Heck said, Candace smears and gets smeared. It creates a scandal, more audience. Yes, fair enough. But if you have a scandal and you're only doing it based on smearing and based on surface level things, it doesn't last for 90 days. It ain't going to last that long because she's talking about the same subject over and over again every day. If it's just some surface level nonsense, people would have saw through it by now. People are still watching. Here we are 90 days in. Candace is bringing substance to the table. People who don't like her don't want to admit that, but she is. You can bring some surface level stuff to the table and get attention for a day or two or even a week or two. But months? I don't think so. Especially with a bunch of people bashing you at the same time. If she wasn't bringing substance, they wouldn't be bashing her. They would have just let her keep talking and she would have burned herself out. The fact that they're bashing her tells you that she's touching on something. She's hitting the nerve. That's why they're bashing her. Michaela Brooks said, or you compile evidence for years like 50 Cent, then you make a documentary. Well, Michaela, what 50 Cent compiled was not really evidence. Everything in that documentary 50 put out is old material. None of it is new. Only thing in there is new is the footage of Diddy filming himself, which wasn't that much of it. And there was the people telling you what happened at trial, why they testified, and that juror was talking about. Everything else in that documentary is old. So it might be new to some of you who don't really follow hip hop like that. But everything that was being said about Diddy in that Netflix documentary or docuseries has been being said about Diddy for the last 25 years. All he did was put it all together. Carlos said a whole bunch of people who didn't follow CK or TPUSA think they know something about TPUSA. Well, that's TPUSA's problem, actually. It's not the problem of the person who now think they know something about them. They do know something about them. They know that their frame is off and it looks like they're hiding something. I didn't follow TPUSA. I knew Charlie Kirk was. I did not follow Turning Point USA. Never been to one of their events. And I know something about TPUSA now that I didn't know before, which is that they are clearly defending something that they don't want you share publicly. And I gave you a whole lot of proof or evidence, rather, as to why I believe that. And it's clear that they're hiding something. You don't have a lawyer make a statement for you to read on a podcast about another podcaster unless you're hiding something. Candace Owens doesn't need a lawyer. Why they got one? Smoky Mountain said 20,000 plus voice pieces on social media alone. On what subject? Jay Bird says she won't be done. Candace is on to something, no doubt. She is on to something. We don't know what, but she's on to something. Smoky Mountain said paid voice pieces, not to mention the sheeple that just run narratives they hear. Okay. Fair enough. KB said, did Macron drop the Candace Owens case? She wins if so. I didn't hear about that. I didn't hear that it got dropped. KB said, I always follow independent journalists and never mainstream eyes. The problem is even the people who are independent sometimes fall for stuff. Even this situation right here. Tim Pool is independent. He doesn't work for anybody. What is the status of the Macron's lawsuit against Candace Owens in the United States? So let's see if this lawsuit is still going. I think it's still going because Candace would have announced it if they had dropped it. And let's see. It got filed in July, 22 counts, including defamation, etc., etc. Unspecified compensatory and punitive damages, plus a jury trial, etc., etc. So current status is ongoing, is in the pretrial phase. No trial date has yet been set. So that's where it's at. So no trial date has yet been set. So there's nothing really to say about it. That's why Candace ain't talking about it. Rick said, we'll probably never get the truth. I agree. Carla said the same thing. Flawless says, she said she would meet up with them and they said okay, and she backed out. She said, let's do the conversation. She was referring to online, which makes perfect sense because here we are right now, all of us online talking. Then they said it has to be in person. I told y'all this the day it came out. Those of you who were here can co-sign this. The day it came out, the statement from TPUSA, I said, they said in person, and they put the word in person in there for a reason because they're going to use that as a crutch. And if Candace won't show up in person, they won't let her do it. And then there'll be an excuse for them to not have the conversation at all. That's what's going to happen. And guess what happened? Exactly what I told you was going to happen. They're going to say in person. She's going to say, let me do it by stream. They're going to say, no, you got to be there in person. She said, I can't be there in person. They're going to say, well, you can't be there. We're going to do it without you. And here we are. Once you start paying attention to this stuff, communication is my superpower. And I don't mean just my ability to speak. I mean my ability to observe and discern. Once you really start paying attention to these things, you can smell the bullshit from a mile away. I saw that as soon as I heard the statement. I said, okay, no way that conversation is happening. I knew it wasn't going to happen. Mahek says she will meet anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere is a colloquialism, which means if I say to you, I'll meet you anytime, anywhere, that doesn't mean you just name, tomorrow at 3 o'clock in Detroit. That means I got to be there. You know that's not what it means. If I say anytime, anywhere, what does that mean? That means you call me, I call you, we coordinate, and let's go make it happen because anytime, anywhere means I'm willing to make it happen. That's what the statement means. And if you, not you personally, but you on the other side of that statement really wants to meet with me, then the thing that you do is you call me and you get in touch with me or my people and you schedule, let's make it happen. All right, you want to do it? I want to do it. Okay, let's make it happen. If you don't really want to do it, what you do is you set an arbitrary date and time and you make all the rules and you tell the person, you got to follow all of my rules or we can't do it. And then you use their language against them when it ends up not happening. All right, it's a straw man frame. TPUSA did not want to have a conversation with Candace Owens. They don't want to do that because if they did, all they would do is say, okay, here's the link. Join the stream December 15th. Let's make it happen. If they really wanted to have a conversation, they could have did that any day they wanted to. They don't want to do it. And we all know they don't want to do it. Jay Bird said, good morning. What does your gut say about Erica Kirk? I mean, she hasn't gotten into this situation. What we're talking about here, she hasn't gotten involved. She hasn't said anything about Candace, and Candace hasn't really said much about her. So what does my gut say about Erica Kirk? The answer is nothing. My gut says nothing about Erica Kirk. Marty J says, that's a common thing to do, but they are not going to give her that. She is smart, no doubt. Smoky Mountain said, as a lawyer, why did TPUSA insist that the attorneys view her questions first unless something to hide? Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if you're talking about me or you. I think you're talking about you. I didn't hear them insist that the attorneys view her questions. I don't think they even got that far. I want to know why TPUSA put out a statement that was written by a lawyer, and it tells me that they're trying to hide something. That's why they have the lawyer write the statement, and or they're about to sue her. Flower says she declined the direct opportunity to talk to them. No, she didn't. They said you have to come in person. She said, let's do it online. Again, if you and I want to have a conversation and I say, all right, let's have a conversation anywhere, any place. And then I say to you, okay, let's do it online. Give me a link. Let's do it. Would you tell me, oh, well, you said anywhere, any place. So you got to come to the Napa Valley or we can't have a conversation. Then that means you don't really want to have the conversation. The internet allows anybody to meet at any time and any place is the internet. The internet is a place. Smoky Mountain said Neff's uncle was, I heard about that. Smoky Mountain, I heard about that. That Neff's uncle was an E5, E6. Says exactly what Charlie did in his professional life. Yes, it was. Flaw said her approach relies on innuendo over facts. That's not quite true. That's a straw man. So let me give you a slice of strawberry cheesecake since you asked for it.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Her approach relies on strong communication skills. First of all, is the basis of her approach. It's not innuendo over facts. And secondly, if someone was just delivering you facts, you wouldn't listen to it or even care about it because you can get facts at the library. A podcaster doesn't just give facts. There's no podcaster out there whose approach depends on facts. Not one. You can't name a single one. A podcaster/streamer's approach does not depend on facts. It depends on their style of communication. It depends on communication skill. And then they use facts, innuendo, opinions, theories, etc., and explanations to color whatever facts they may have or don't have. Jay Bird said, I wish I had a real friend like Candace. Something happened to me. She says a bulldog. I agree. Smokey said, Tim is losing followers because he's pushing politics over a public life. Yeah, because Tim Pool, I don't think Tim Pool has any substance here. That's the reason why he's going ad hominem. That's my issue with Tim Pool. He's going ad hominem because he doesn't have substance. Smokey says she was monetized long before this. Yeah, she was. Carla says she has effectively turned people's eyes from a logical perspective to TPUSA. Well, yes, she's done that. That's fair enough. Fawn said Candace got kicked out in 2019. She's been plotting revenge. Who knows? Maybe she did it. Yeah, okay. She was at TPUSA events in 2024, so she didn't get kicked out in 2019. Smoky Mouth said no one can do it because facts cannot be disproven. Well, it's not even about facts. It's about the truth. Truth is a higher level than facts. Ali, good morning. Carl said he has 776,000 followers on TikTok. Who? Talking about Tim Pool? And Anastasia said Jeff Mead, older millennial, are the ones bashing her on TikTok. Yeah, I saw Jeffrey Mead bashing her, and Jeffrey Mead might have gotten paid by TPUSA. I think that might be a paid post. Carl said, I don't know Tim Pool either. That's okay. You don't need to know. Piano said, and Trump can't control his emotions when it comes to women. I don't know about that. Trump's a little bit different animal. What Trump says publicly is not his real. It could be his real personal feelings, but Donald Trump knows how to dominate a news cycle. So I can't put Trump in the same category as these other folks. Trump says things that he knows is going to get everybody paying attention to it, but he does it on purpose. He's not out of control when he does it. He's completely in control. Flaw says, so all the police and investigators lied too? Straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
The police and investigators haven't spoken, so they can't lie because they're not saying anything. They don't have to tell the public what they're doing in their investigation. Smokey said, Candace and Tucker are not libs. True with that. Carlos said, no proof, no evidence, but you have said it and people will take it as fact. Well, first of all, proof and evidence are not the same thing. There's no proof means you absolutely know beyond a shadow of a doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt, something happened. That's proof. Evidence, all the things that Candace is throwing out there is evidence. So she has a ton of evidence. She doesn't have proof. She has evidence. So all of you need to understand the difference between the words proof and evidence. They're not the same thing. Evidence is anything that could contribute to a situation occurring. Evidence does not have to be 100. It doesn't have to be 100% leading to the definitive outcome. Evidence can be something that ends up not leading to the outcome. Evidence is just a thing. So evidence could be, for example, if I'm trying to think of an example. So let's say, for example, my next door neighbor and I got into an argument last week about loud music. And then tomorrow, my next door neighbor winds up dead. Evidence towards who did it is that I was arguing with my neighbor last week. That doesn't mean I did it. That's not proof that I did it, but it's evidence that I might be a suspect. Do y'all understand? Evidence is anything that could contribute to the truth. Doesn't mean it did. It means it could. Evidence. There's a lot of evidence that gets left on the cutting room floor of an investigation. So when people say Candace Owens has no evidence, they don't know what the word evidence means. Now, if you say she has no proof, yes, she doesn't have proof because proof means it absolutely happened and here's the documentation. She does have some proof, or actually on certain things. She doesn't have proof of who did it because we don't know who did it. But she has a ton of evidence. So any of you hearing that or using that term, please understand what the words mean before you throw them out there. Smoky Mountain said, lawfare is the culture, Dre. Yes, it is. I understand. We got a few more minutes here, folks. My battery's going to die. Nikki said, can someone ask who is TT in the comments? No, TT is not TikTok. TT is the brother of the man who is banned on TikTok, who used to be a kickboxer who lives in Romania with the bald head. That guy. That guy's initials are AT, and his brother's initials are TT. They got the same last name, and they got different first names. So hopefully that can help you figure it out. Flawless said, why did she back out of the interview? She didn't. She said, let's do it online. Her response was, let's do it online. They said, no, you got to do it in person. Because, again, they didn't want to have the conversation. Scott says, TP is doing the opposite of what Charlie would do. I think so. Carl said, I need emotional damage because I'm sick of hearing about CO. Well, you better go see a doctor because we're not done talking about this.
Emotional damage.
And he said, you like to put the phone down. All right, we got a few more questions here, folks. Then we've got to wrap this up because my battery's going to die. All right, let's see. Pepper said, you and Candace would have my vote for president. Well, which one of us is the president? Who's the VP? I would have to be the president. Frost says, CBS has been bought out by conservatives. Okay. Smoky Mountain said, I was canceled on this app old account because I shared my mask and respirator education. Yeah, that was a bad idea. Jake said, interesting theory, Dre. We'll have to see how this shakes out and see both sides' next moves. Well, TP USA has one more move and they're not going to do anything else. They already told you. They already told you exactly what they're going to do. Tara Mills, that's what I've heard, that they're now Israeli-led. That's what I've heard. Frost said, why talk about it more than once and keep it going? If you're telling the truth, then you talk about it as much as necessary because the truth is self-evident. The truth can be examined from every angle and it's still the truth. That's the whole point. If you're telling, and also flaws, if you're telling the truth, you can't control how often it gets talked about if it's indeed the truth. Now, your story, you can control that because you don't tell it more than once. What TPUSA is about to do is tell their story. They're not about to tell the truth. Those are two different things. Melanie said, do you see the video show CK's microphone, the guy with the remote? I've seen many videos. So, yes, I did see that one. I'm not sure I can draw any conclusions from that. Tim Rockwell said, Candace is going down such a deep and complex rabbit hole, no one will ever figure out what's true. I think we will. Smoky Mountain said, I pick friends that betrayed me later. It speaks on their character, not mine. Fair enough. Kathy Katz, thank you for the rose. Night Owl said, I believe Candace, she is 100% on the right track. Powers to be are afraid of the truth. I believe the end of that powers to be are afraid of the truth. And it's not even that she has the truth yet, is that it looks like she's trying to get there. And I think people don't want her to get there. That's why they're trying to shut her up. And that's why they're attacking her personally. Leilani said, I should search this thing on TikTok. Yeah, so I shouldn't say that out loud. You're right. Heck said, you are so pleasant to disagree with. No, thank you. Leilani said, Trump has dementia, less controlled all the time. Leilani, you got TDS. Trump does not have dementia. You want to see dementia, go look at the previous president. Cut it out. All right, put the phone down.
Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down!
Ali, thank you for the lightning bolt. Beanie 1958 said, Trump is extremely intelligent and works more hours than most people. No way he has dementia. Nobody thinks Donald Trump has dementia except people who have TDS. Cut it out. Beanie, I wasn't talking to you. The person who said that Trump has dementia. Okay. That's a projection. That's what we call that. Angelica said, no, I don't agree with Candace is doing at all. People are suffering unimaginable grief. What does that have to do with Candace? I don't think Candace is causing anybody grief. If they claim that she's causing them grief, all that is
emotional damage.
That's an appeal to emotion, trying to make it seem like her doing an investigation and asking questions is causing them grief. Therefore, don't ask questions because you're causing me grief. I don't give a damn if my questions are causing you grief. If my questions are causing you grief, you should ask yourself why the questions are causing you grief. Why? How is that my problem? So I asked the question and you are feeling grief because of it. So I got a right to ask questions. This is a public situation that happened in public, and you're claiming grief as a reason why I should stop asking questions. That is a straw man. You're trying to pull the rug out from under my feet. And just because people are suffering, again, does not mean you're doing something wrong. What if she ends up finding out what the real story is? Does that mean she was wrong? Elena said, I disagree with the way you disagree, but love the conversation. Okay, I'll take that as a positive. How would you disagree, Elena M., since you brought it up? Leilani said, I love the emotional damage button. Me too.
Emotional, damn it.
Angelica said, only a person that suffered unimaginable grief will understand what I mean. Well, Angelica, all due respect, that's a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
So the first thing you said was you don't agree with what Candace is doing. Okay, that's fair. If you don't like what she's doing, you have a right to that. That's a logical point. Then you followed it up with an emotional appeal to emotion. You said people are suffering unimaginable grief, as if to mean because people are suffering unimaginable grief that it's not okay for whatever is causing that grief to occur, which might be true, but also might not be true. And in this case, you don't agree with what Candace Owens is doing. You don't agree with her having a podcast because you are claiming that is causing people grief. That is a straw man and appeal to emotion.
Emotional, damn it.
And then you go on to make it proprietary. So you're trying to make your logical point a proprietary one. I challenge the illogic in your point. And then you try to make it proprietary by saying, well, only a person that suffered unimaginable grief can understand what I mean. So basically what you're saying without saying it is that I can't possibly understand what you mean. So it's not right for me to give you the appeal to emotion because you've experienced something that I haven't experienced. So because your experience is proprietary, therefore your point cannot be challenged. You're trying to make it proprietary to avoid having your point challenged on a logical level. That works in some spaces. It does not work around here.
Stop it. Get some help. Put the phone down. This is for my safety. Put the phone down. This is for my safety. Put the phone down. This is for my safety. Put the phone down.
So Ilani said, using emotional damage as a shield is an irritating deflection. Yes, that's what it is. So Angelica, all due respect, you're using that as a deflection. You've been through unimaginable grief. It's unimaginable? Okay. If you've been through unimaginable grief, that means anything you say that you pin unimaginable grief to, nobody can challenge you because you've been through the unimaginable grief that other people can't imagine because they haven't experienced it. That's a deflection. And you may even believe it, but it's still a deflection. Angelica said, we can agree to disagree. She's being very accusatory, not just asking questions. She has a right to be accusatory. You have a right to be accusatory. If you believe you have information that leads to a certain assertion that you are willing to stand on, you have a right to say it out loud. The fact that it makes other people uncomfortable is not your problem. That is their problem. She has a right to that. And she doesn't have to just ask questions. She has a right to make an accusation if she can stand on it and she can back it up. What she's doing is making assertions. It's not really accusations, it's assertions. She's asserting, hey, Tyler Robinson was not the shooter. She asserted that. She asserted TPUSA knew something about what happened. That's an assertion. It's not really an accusation, it's an assertion. She is asserting that these things are true. And she has a right to make those assertions. If she's wrong, then whoever she's asserting against can come out and say that she's wrong. Prove that she's wrong. If you don't prove that she's wrong, then she has a right to make that assertion and she can stand on it. There's nothing wrong with that. CJ Gator said, new clip sound I see. Yes. J Rocket said, be consistent. If Biden was too old, then Trump may be too old now. So J Rocket, you just came out of nowhere with a complete straw man. Okay. You want a slice of strawberry cheesecake?
Strawberry cheesecake.
J Rocket, the comment being responded to was not about the age of Trump. This comment was Trump has dementia. That was the actual comment. It wasn't saying Trump is too old. So you came in here asking for a slice of strawberry cheesecake. You got it. Angelica said, where is the proof, Dre? Again, there is evidence, not proof. Now you're pivoting to a different point. Right? Evidence and proof are not the same thing. Evidence is this happened, which means it may have led to this happening. That's all you need for evidence. That is evidence. By definition, is evidence. Evidence is, I had an argument with my next door neighbor last week, and now my next door neighbor is dead. That's evidence that I might be a person to question in what happened to my neighbor. Doesn't mean I did it. It's not proof that I'm the murderer. It's evidence that I might have something to do with it or I might know something about it. Why? Because this argument that I had last week is a probable cause that I might have had an issue with this guy. Doesn't mean I did it. Maybe I didn't do it at all, but it's evidence that the police need to chase down. That's exactly what Candace Owens is doing. She's not a cop. She's not solving it. Well, she is technically trying to solve a murder, it appears. She is chasing down all the evidence. This happened, which means it might lead to this. That might be true. It might not be true. This is what investigations are, ladies and gentlemen. I think many of you don't understand how investigations work. You don't understand the difference between evidence and proof. They're not the same thing. Evidence is this could lead to this. It doesn't mean it did. It means it could. And if your evidence takes you to a brick, it leads you to a brick wall, a dead end, that's okay. That's how investigations work. Not everything you investigate leads to the solving of the crime. That's how investigations happen. Leilani said, why do I think Trump works with the I country? Well, one reason is money. I think Donald Trump's a businessman. I think that's a fair enough reason. But other than that, I don't know. I don't study that stuff enough. So I can't give you any more on that. All that said, everybody, my battery's about to die, so we do need to wrap this up. I'll do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. If you like this live, come back tomorrow. If you like the soundboard, come back tomorrow. You want to get one of my books? I get this book out for free, TikTok, so don't give me a warning. I get this book out for free. It's called The Mirror of Motivation. The book's free. Just cover the shipping. Mirrorofmotivation.com. Take out the word "the" and type this into your browser. Mirrorofmotivation.com. The book's free. Just cover the shipping. Or just text the word "mirror" to my number. 305-384-6894. If you want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach. Join the Power Presence Protocol. That link is in my profile. Text the word "power" to my number, 305-384-6894. I appreciate all of you today for helping me warm up the soundboard. Appreciate those of you who complimented. Appreciate those of you who liked and commented. Thank you to the moderators for keeping things in order over here. And we will end it with this sound, and we will wrap it up.
Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down!
Everybody have a great Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow morning. We out of here.